Hi all, this is They Fucked Us Up, the podcast where we go through movies from our childhoods that either fucked us up or stuck with us in a very significant way, usually tormented us or traumatized us or was just like mind-blowing. This week we are doing Tales from the Hood, and I just sounded the whitest I've ever sounded in my life. And
there's something inevitable about saying
I think that's
going to
be an ongoing theme throughout this podcast.
So we're here with Kevin.
Hello.
Jake.
Hello.
And Nemo.
Hello.
And myself, your host, Xandra. Let's just dig right in there.
Yeah.
It's Tales from the Hood from 1995. Don't have a whole lot of background in this other than it was executive produced by Spike Lee. So that already kind of sets a tone. Let's go with the people who watched this whenever they were children. So Nemo, you were the one who chose this film. What stuck with you so much?
Okay, so the reason I know this movie exists is because I remember as a kid I would have these nightmares, or I would be afraid to fall asleep because I was afraid little human creatures were gonna come and I guess eat me. Which comes from this movie. I never knew it was from this movie because obviously I watched the movie. That's where I got the idea, but I knew that that was a terrifying thing for me. So when Kevin pointed out to me that it was this movie, I was like, oh my God, I've got to watch this again as an adult so that I can fix that terrifying experience I had as a kid. I watched it now, so watching it again,
fix it?
It totally fixed it because this movie is nowhere as intense as the nightmares I had. It's kind of fun, but it's also, whoa, this movie is way more intense than I ever knew as a kid. So much of it was glossed over because I just didn't know what it was about, and none of the social commentary was evident to me at that age. So I'm excited to talk about it.
And then Kevin, you watched this as a child.
Yes, I did. I watched this when I was 8 years old. And I had the same experience.
I'm so sorry.
Right?
Me too. Me too. I had the same experience as Nemo, where I was so terrified of little people in my room at nighttime when I was trying to go to bed. And I just felt like they could be waiting anywhere to get me.
Oh my God, Kevin, that's exactly right. Oh my God, I was afraid of this corner of my bed that I had to sit next to because I felt they were just going to creep out of there. Oh.
Okay, so did you guys fuse two of the parts together, like the monster and the little people together?
No, it was just the little people for me.
Just the little people?
The little dolls.
Yeah, and I would always think that there would be something. I did have a nightmare that I had more than once about a puppet sitting on the fan blades in my bedroom.
Oh God!
And it would jump down to get me. I know I had that
train spotting shit,
right? Well, no, and whenever you described it earlier to me, for some reason, what is that other horror film that has the puppet that has the little targets on its?
Saw.
Yes.
Jigsaw.
For some reason, I was thinking of the Jigsaw puppet doing that. For some reason, that's how my brain was going there since I hadn't seen this film. So I was like, oh Lord.
And it's interesting watching this movie back. I thought that is where the puppet was in the movie, that it was sitting on fan blades. But watching it back now, it was on a sconce on the wall. I'm like, oh, I totally remembered that wrong.
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
But yeah, terrified me.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Definitely imagine.
Yeah. And it was the rest for all the rest of the movie. There was none of that context of understanding the content of the movie. Besides, scary things are happening. People are hurting each other.
Yeah.
Right.
It's much more intense now watching it as an adult. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. That's actually something through this entire movie that I kept oscillating between, which was this is the kind of the horror I wanted to watch, and oh, there's the kind of horror, and then what the fuck is going on? These three states is what this movie constantly does to me.
Yeah.
Like some of it is just way too real, so it's horrifying, but then it's like,
Right.
oh, this is horror, so
Well-
like it's less scary.
And of course, you chose a movie that is extremely relevant
I have no
times
idea.
in which we are living in.
Like,
No.
you have to understand, I don't remember
I know, I
anything
know.
in this movie
It's
other
just
than
funny.
those puppets.
It just so happened to be very relevant.
yeah,
it
it
just
just
so
so happened.
The puppets were the most memorable part.
It's kind of sad,
I
to
don't
be
know,
honest,
the end
that
was
a movie made in 1995 is it's pretty much exactly the same.
Well, yeah. Well, because that
Things have not
followed
changed.
the was it 93? The Rodney King murder
Yeah.
and all that rioting that happened after the Rodney King
Right.
murder for police brutality and everything else.
Yep, we started the movie strong.
And I'm like, oh,
I know, like they
it's
really
just a
came
cycle
out
that's
swinging.
repeated.
Right.
Yeah.
I was also like noticing that this gives me a sense of why Spike Lee was actually come again.
Involved in it? Or?
No, not just that, but like of why like he would have been. He's an important director because when I was younger, I didn't understand who's Spike Lee. What does he do? Like, why is he so, revered in a sense? And I see it's because he was making these things that were like experimental. Like it's essentially a horror trope of like three kids or whatever come into a haunted house and they meet the creepy owner of the place and he tells them tales or something, which is what this is.
Yeah.
Well, with a twist. Oh my god,
Yeah.
the twist!
Right.
The
The
twist.
I think it's also
This-
the anthology film
Yeah.
genre.
Yeah.
That was really popular in the early 90s, like with 4 Rooms and
Yeah.
um,
I mean, it happens like every 20
Creepshow.
years.
Yeah.
Oh, creep show.
Because that was a big thing in the early 70s as well, which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of funny. But
This is basically Black Mirror before Black Mirror, which I
Yeah.
guess Twilight Zone was that, and on and
well,
on.
yeah. And then, like, now Jordan Peele has the
Yeah.
whole Twilight, the revamp of Twilight Zone that's
Right.
going to do basically the same type of scenario.
right.
It's like, it is like every 20 years. It's really true. I mean,
It doesn't
call
surprise
it
me at all
the-
that Spike Lee is involved with this movie.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's, in the filmmaking world, that's how you get money
Mm-hmm.
to distribute a film at all, is that you need to get somebody with money. And
Right.
Spike Lee saw this project and was like, yep, I'm going to put my money into this. You go.
yeah.
So,
By the way, the intro of this. Oh wait, we haven't reached there. All right, never mind.
Well, I mean, we can get into it now. I mean, the beginning is interesting.
It starts with this
blunt?
essentially an old school version of The Crown opening, where it's just like close-ups of something shiny.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And confusing. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is just like the intro to The Crown,
Yeah. But
but it's a skeleton holding a gun.
yeah, a skeleton holding gun, smoking a blunt. Like,
And he's wearing sunglasses.
I know.
and he's got the creepy fiddles going on behind
oh, the
it.
fiddles. Those fiddles.
Whenever I heard it, I was like, oh, Beetlejuice? What's happening here? Because it's almost the same exact fiddle riff that they used. And then it transitions into like 90s rap going on. And then we all just kind of went, this is the 90s.
Yeah.
Like this, I just wrote swaggering young man down because of that walk, and I remember that walk being awesome in
Yeah.
my high school. I mean, middle when I was young,
Yeah, it was like whenever you were younger.
in boarding
Like,
school.
Oh, Lord. The creepy funeral home that they ride up to is three young guys, one with a very uncomfortable looking bandana.
Yeah, he's wearing the bandana in a way that does not look comfortable.
Right.
I've never seen anybody wear it like that.
Right.
Now that I see it, it actually looks stupid, very stupid.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, it was funny because my coworker Wayne, he one time came into the office and he had his polo shirt buttoned all the way. He's a black guy, but he had his polo shirt buttoned all the way up and was wearing a bandana in the same way. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "What the hell are you doing?" Because he's 65 years old.
He's got some swagger and style.
Yeah, I was like, okay, we're taking it back to the 90s. What's happening here?
Like Lindsay Ellis would say, that urban gangsta flavor.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
In the intro, they make sure that you know the name of the building
movie?
because they show it like 50
yeah.
times, and I still don't remember the name of the building.
I didn't even write it.
I know it's like Sullivan.
So the character of the mortuary owner, his name is Mr. Sims. So,
it was Sim's Funeral Home.
right?
Yeah.
Sims Funeral Home.
That's what it was.
And the three characters are Stack, Bulldog, and Ball.
Okay.
Yeah, it really is like.
I never catch those kind of characters' names ever. So I'm just like, okay, what's happening here?
Your brain just categorizes it as the Three Stooges.
Yeah, essentially. I'm just like, okay.
It was
cool.
clear when they pulled up they were going to be getting into shenanigans.
Shenanigans. Okay, you know what's funny is the guy who directed this also directed a lot of the Chappelle Show.
Oh, really?
And that does not surprise me.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And then after they introduced the funeral home, it's very in your face, executive produced by Spike Lee.
Oh, right.
And I was like, oh, okay.
And he acted in a Spike Lee movie.
Oh, okay.
So
that sounds about right. They were saying something about let's go get this little Mo.
Man. Besides, dead people ain't who y'all need to be worried about anyway. Lil Mo, who the fuck y'all need to be worried about?
What the? He wasn't trying to say homo, was he?
I don't.
Oh,
I didn't read that, but
yeah, I didn't read that either.
I thought it was maybe money.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no idea. The thing,
But
that
anyway.
I did notice that the acting was kind of theatrical. Like, I want these urban youths to talk in a street way.
Yo, man, what kind of drugs do dead people be needing?
Yeah.
But for Broadway, because there's space in between their lines and it's exaggerated.
We shoot them real good with embalming fluid mainly. You know, it keeps them from smelly.
It's like, oh wow, this is very theatrical.
Yeah, it's very over the top with it.
Well, I mean, the actor. What was the name of the actor that played Mr. Sims? Let me look at it. Clarence Williams III.
Yeah.
I mean, he was chewing up that scenery.
Yeah.
Just like just chewing that scenery.
Yes.
Really
I told Allie that he reminded me of a mix between Tim Curry and Vincent Price. Just especially at the end.
Absolutely.
There was
Legend, the movie Legend with Tim Curry.
Yeah. There was a show
am the night.
There's a show called Atlanta, which is awesome. And one of the episodes, Donald Glover plays a Michael Jackson type person who has his own mansion and is secluded. And the character's name was Teddy Perkins. That reminds me so much of this, or rather, I guess this seems so similar to that. So maybe he got some influence from this movie.
Probably. So the guy who plays the Mr. Sims was in the Mod Squad in the 60s, so I don't know if that kind of rubbed off a little bit. And then he was also in Purple Rain.
Oh yeah, he was. Oh, that's where I've seen him.
He was Prince's tormented father. But anyway, so we get to the funeral home. They go. There's all this insane organ music going on, and you see close-ups of hands playing the organ music. And then I wrote down a lot of weird phrases that I was just like, what? And then, they were talking about going in and killing somebody who's already dead.
Oh, right.
Which led into that whole conversation about, I don't even understand refried beans. Like,
Oh my god. Oh my
It
god.
was definitely Three Stooges at that point.
That
yes,
was
right.
That was such a
so-
weird side conversation.
Why do you refry a bean?
Like some refried beans and some shit. Man, I never understood that, man. Why the fuck you gonna refry some beans, man? Why not just fry that shit right the first time and get up?
Look, man, both of y'all shut the fuck up, all right?
Not to be like ignorant or anything, but how is refried beans made? Does it actually get fried twice?
I don't
No.
think, no, it's just like, I think you have to cook it and then you have to cook it again.
I
Which is what the
I guess so.
refried is.
Because I've made them homemade before. It's where
Yeah,
like
I
you
have to.
boil a pot of beans, season the way you want, and then I just put them in the
And then
blender
you
and
use-
blended the hell out of them.
Well, no, but
for
like
mine.
the way that you usually do it is you like stick it in a pan with a lot of oil or lard and then like scrape it to where it like grounds it down into that consistency.
Is that how you make it?
Fascinating.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah,
Sounds like a lot of work. Why not just do it right the first
I just
time?
used a shit like I used canned beans and
I've
then
actually
just stuck
never
them in the
made
pan
refried
with a bunch of oil and seasoned them while I was cooking them.
Oh,
So-
I've only made them from dry beans before.
oh yeah. Oh, aren't you special?
Well, you know, no big deal.
Yeah, I was like,
It's just from dry beans.
Show off. Oh, next thing, that the ice cube tray.
yes,
What?
so that's an old ice cube tray. That's the way that ice cube trays used to
That
be.
was. It looked like fancy ice to me. I was
It
like,
did
I
look
thought
like
so.
fancy
big chunk
ice.
ice.
But it looked like those like whiskey cubes, essentially.
Right. Yes.
Stone.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of elements about that character that they were trying to foreshadow a little bit at who he was and what he was in the
Yeah.
end.
Like he's
Not
old.
very well,
Yeah.
because like the organ music, like now that you've seen the end, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
that
now I
makes
get
sense
it.
now.
Why
'Cause
he's playing the organ.
We all were like, this is super overly dramatic.
Yeah.
And they were using a bunch of like overly dramatic opera
Oh, yeah, that-
music later on. Yeah.
It's like, I told Ali, I actually had a comment where I was like, this is normally used in like religious reasons.
Yeah.
Like, it's something holy going on. Why is this happening during the shootout? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I'm like, oh. Still didn't
We'll
make
get
sense.
there. We'll get there.
But I get it now.
Yeah, I was
Just weird.
Yeah, I mentioned the same thing about the ice trays that I was like, oh, some old ass ice trays. Okay. And then it took him forever to light that cigar.
With a giant flame.
Yes. And then they came in and they kept going, where's the stuff? Where's the stuff? And like
No, they needed the shit.
I
The
know,
It was the
they didn't
shit.
say the shit. They said the stuff first and then they went the shit.
Where's the shit?
Where's the shit? Give me
The
the,
poopity
shit.
doo.
Yeah.
The poopity poop.
Give me that.
And then I just wrote drugs for the deceased. I was like, what's happening here?
Yes.
I was super confused at the beginning. I'm like, and then they just go, we're going to be knee deep in, oh, he said you're going to be knee deep in this shit. And I was like, oh, Lord. Poo poo roll.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I thought he was
we
going to be.
slightly
I thought
skipped
they were going to
over-
have. I thought this was like a bad genie situation where there would be poop that he would be
Yeah.
needed in.
Right.
Oh.
We slightly skipped over, like, they spent a lot of screen time talking about how uncomfortable they were with going to a place that
Yeah.
involved dead people.
Yeah.
Why did they spend so much time talking about that?
I
Like,
don't
it doesn't.
know. I
They
mean,
just wanted to establish this place is very spooky
Very
and they're
creepy.
not comfortable with how spooky it is.
But they could have done that in a couple of lines instead
Like,
of
instead
just
of like, it was like 5 minutes.
this is fucking creepy, dude.
And they want to establish they're tough. At least the
Well,
other two were more tough.
But
Yeah.
it never pays
It's
off.
like, no.
Like, his superstition never pays off.
I know.
No.
He's just like overtly like, I don't like dead people.
And it's
Well,
like
and
you
it's
were
just-
a good guess.
It's funny
Good instincts.
because he tells him 4 stories, and none of the stories make him go, "Okay, I'm fucking out of here, man."
Right.
Like,
Right.
sorry, just
I'm
like,
come further with me into the house. And I'd be like, you know what? Never mind.
no, I'm okay.
Thanks for the drink.
Nah, I'm good.
And the
You know, the
fancy-
closest thing I can guess is maybe they need a reason for him to run and hit his head, and that way they can get the ice cube scene. Like maybe that
He
was
hit his
it.
head really hard.
yeah.
Maybe they they really spent money on the Ice Cube prop and they wanted to make sure it gets in.
Right. I don't know. Maybe. Or the prop where he hits his head. I don't know.
Oh, that hook and like
Yes.
random hook.
Yeah.
I thought he was dead.
Alright, anyway, so let's just like jump right into
Okay.
the stories.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
The build up really he's creepy. The guy is creepy.
Yeah, he is.
And everybody's creeped out, but they won't leave because they're there for the shit.
The shit.
And so the guy's like, I'll tell you some stories and then you can get your shit. And it was like, okay, let's do this.
I liked that really though. They were just like, we don't want to hear your stories, and he's like,
And he
and
just
let me
goes.
continue.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first story is about a man named Clarence. And he is a cop. And he has a white partner that's a cop. And, well, I mean, like, the cop partner. Whatever. And they roll up to, like, some other cops pulling over that guy.
Yes.
Whose name is Morehouse, we find out. And turns out he has been getting on to the police departments about them selling drugs to people and police brutality, and they've labeled him as an agitator.
Right.
But we obviously don't find that out until a little bit later into the story. But
Right.
Clarence comes upon this situation. He's like, hey, you know, what are you guys, he's new, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Is
He's
that
the
what it was?
rookie.
He's the rookie.
He's the rookie.
And they're like, rookie, just go back
No,
to the
rookie,
car
rookie.
and look up his
You'll get it.
license
Just
plate.
back
So
off. Go on away.
he does that.
And they established like very quickly that they
Yeah.
were being dirty when Morehouse is like, why'd you pull me over? Nothing's wrong. And they like immediately smash his taillight, and they're
Yeah.
like, your old taillight's busted, and then just like are punching him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It escalates real quickly.
Very quick.
It escalates really quickly, and obviously that kind of stuff does happen.
I know. I was like, wow.
And I was
so
like,
relevant.
timely.
Right?
Timely.
Oh my God.
Sadly.
And I was thinking, oh, this is horror, but not the horror I was looking for.
Yeah.
Right? It's like 25 years later.
Right.
Still very relevant.
Still a thing. And so he goes back and he's looking up the guy's information. The other cops are getting really violent with him. Like, they smash his head through the window.
Like, so
the car.
brutally violent, it's like ridiculous. It's not even comical. And that's the thing. Sometimes
No.
when it's like so brutal, you're like, this is ridiculous. But no,
Yeah.
it's like they intentionally skirt the line of like, you're not to feel comfortable in any part of this.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and I think that's the point.
Yeah,
is like
it's meant to make you feel.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so the Clarence tries to go and stop them, and his partner is like, hey, you know, I'll deal with this, you go away. And I've forgotten what's happened.
Right.
Oh,
the
so the
partner-
cops lied to him.
Yes, the cops lie to him.
And tell him that they're gonna like
Take him to
take
the
care
hospital.
of him, take him to the
to
hospital.
hospital. That's right.
And he's like, okay, but like that was terrible. And his partner in the car is like, look, you're a cop. Like, we stick up for other cops. Like, you let what happens happen.
And we never
And
break
we
the code.
never break the code about it.
Ugh.
Just like, oh God, okay.
I'm sure there's so many rookie cops that get that speech today.
Oh
Probably.
yeah, I know. Like,
Well, and not, but see the
I've
thing.
seen these kind of things on Twitter where a rookie cop's like, I'm done with this bullshit. Like,
But you also have to stress the fact that it's a rookie black cop
Yeah.
who's being told by a white cop
yeah.
to ignore the fact that they're beating up a
Oh,
black
I know.
man,
I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
and that he's basically just supposed to just do nothing and
Just
say
let
nothing.
it happen. Yeah.
Cop first.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And so then we see the cops like take the guy, put him in his car
Mm-hmm.
or in a car, and then inject him with
Heroin.
I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then push his car off a bridge.
Right.
Which,
All while the cop
kills
shooting him up is like admits to the crime, being like, "You're right. All
Yeah.
the cops in Precinct 6 are selling drugs, and
Yeah.
you'll never tell anyone."
yeah.
And dead.
Yeah. And so then it like skips some time before Clarence is like drinking himself because he's one, traumatized, and two, like he's upset that he let it happen.
Well, because he found they showed he had the newspaper, and so he saw what happened and he knew what happened that they did that. So he's just like completely disenfranchised.
Well, and the fact that he like quit his job because he was like, I can't be around, like, you guys are terrible and I can't say anything because you're just gonna, say I'm, saying something or whatever. But
the most
does he
important
get called?
thing
No.
is him being haunted
he goes
by
into
the voice of Morehouse.
He goes to the mural of
Yeah.
Morehouse. There's a mural of Morehouse that's been painted in the streets, and he goes to it. And the ghost of Morehouse kind of essentially comes out of the mural, like on a cross, like he's crucified. And is like, Clarence,
bring them to me.
Bring them to me. And he's like, I will. And I was like, okay, bring them where? Like, what is that mean?
Bring them where?
But anyway, so.
But he understands.
Yeah, he understands, and he's drunk and like calls the other cops to the cemetery where Morehouse is buried, and he's like, you gotta make this right, basically, and like, I need you to be here and come to this place. And they're like, why? You're just a pussy cop who, couldn't handle it. Yeah, it was just like, toxic masculinity.
I know, on top of
I mean, and that bigger one, Strom, is like the worst of them all.
He's such a cartoon.
I know.
He is such a cartoon character.
He's such a cartoon.
He's not believable in any sense. He's just too crazy.
Yeah.
Like, because like racism is scary. Like I just feel like they tried to make him so over the top, and by doing that, it makes him not less scary, but just kind of he's hard to believe. He's just too crazy.
He's hard to believe that somebody's out there actually acting like this.
Well, like, I'm gonna pee on his grave.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, so he takes him to his grave, and he's like, I'm gonna piss on his grave. Well, and they also looked at each other and were like, he won't bother us again.
Right.
Like, obviously being like, we're gonna take him out.
Like, the other cops were fine because they were letting this happen. No, not fine. They weren't fine. That's not what I meant. What I meant was, from a writing standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, they were awful, but they were realistic. Whereas Strom, is that the character?
Yeah.
He's just like, oh my god.
Yeah. And the funny part is like, in my head, I'm equating him to the George Floyd.
Oh, I was too. I was
police
also.
officer.
With the other officers just watching, being like, yep, this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe that's the nuance they were trying to get. Come to think of it, these three characters, like the three cops, the one that was the partner of Clarence, he was like sort of the in-between where he creates this logic of making what the clownish cop does, like saying it's okay, but like the logic didn't make sense to me. It seemed very roundabout and just like an excuse. So it's like one that's just a blind follower, the other one who justifies it and turns it into its own logic, and the third one that just really enjoys the massacre,
Yeah.
Right.
So you have these three levels of
There's
to me, he was the character that really made the racism scary, because he was, like you say, he was justifying it. He was finding.
He was systematizing it essentially.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't rat on us, right?
Yeah.
That's like a system thing. It's like you're part of a club. You're part of this, all of this stuff. Which
don't you want to be part of a club? Don't you want to belong?
Yeah.
And then the story just takes a.
And this is where it gets real scary.
This is the scary I was looking for.
He brings them to the grave. He like asks Morehouse, is this good now? And then the guy starts pissing on the grave. And then he tries to like force his other friend to piss on the grave, and then the other guy goes over to the grave and gets like pulled down into the grave.
By his junk.
I was not. I was typing while
Morehouse
I was-
grabs his junk and pulls him down into the ground. by
Okay,
his
that's
junk.
what I figured was happening because I was like, oh God, please tell me he didn't pull him by his penis. And I was like, oh, yep, he did. Okay.
Okay.
Correct.
Oh God.
Into the ground.
And then, like, shit's getting crazy, and then the casket comes up out of the ground, and the guy who he got pulled into the ground is laying in the casket, and Morehouse is just standing on the gravestone
With
like,
beautiful makeup.
zombie-ified,
Beautiful makeup.
with beautiful makeup.
And a beating heart.
Oh, yeah, and he's holding the guy's beating heart in his hand.
Do you think in the original script it was supposed to be the balls?
Probably.
Oh my god, that would have been.
No, I think it's scarier that it's the heart, but it
Yeah.
would have been funnier.
That would have been
if it's the
funnier.
balls. But yeah, so the other guy gets freaked out and just starts shooting the gravestone. I was like, what the
I think
Or
the
was that
gravestone
before?
was
That was
right
before.
before the
Okay.
explosion.
Yeah.
He gets pulled down into the ground. He shoots the gravestone, and then he comes back up.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, and they shoot so many rounds at the gravestone. It's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, that's not right.
That's symbolic.
But okay. And then,
I don't think a gun has that many rounds.
right, right, that's what I was thinking.
No,
What
it's special
happened?
cop guns.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Well, it gets weirder because then Strom and the other guy, like the logical guy, go to try to get in their car and like try to turn it over, and it's not turning over. And Morehouse is the zombie is just like coming at him. I'm like, what the fuck? What the hell? And then finally the car turns over and they speed off, but Morehouse is still behind them, walking slowly, still behind them.
That's what makes it kind of creepy.
And then
though.
jumps on the car.
And then
Yeah.
And I'm
suddenly
like, are
it's
you Superman now? Can you leap buildings in a single bound?
He's
What's
a
happening?
ghost.
Right?
Like when they cut back and they just saw the zombie guy's face right in the camera, that was terrifying.
That was really scary.
I can understand seeing that as a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, as an adult, it's
Yeah.
goofy as hell. But
Yeah.
as a child,
It scared me a little bit now, I won't lie.
really.
It's creepy looking.
It was kind of creepy.
I might have missed this part of the movie when I was a kid because I don't remember any of this.
Maybe. I mean, I know there's several movies that I watched as a kid that were still kind of traumatizing, but for some reason I only caught one part of the film. I never caught the beginning, and I was too traumatized to finish to the end.
Oh,
I remember this part when I was young, but I remember it being like, well, they were being mean, bad people, so that's why they were in trouble.
So they
with
should
it.
get this.
So like, I just knew like that won't happen to me if I'm a good person.
Interesting thought to think about. So you know how usually in revenge plots, the ghosts will, or like whoever's doing the revenge will always wait for the last one that was the worst to them and do the
They
worst.
get the worst one second.
Well, but is he the worst one, or is the logical guy?
Okay, maybe
something
the
to think
logical
about?
one is.
Was the one that was overtly
That is,
awful?
yeah.
Or was it
yeah.
the one that was making it logical?
Justified?
Making the racism justified. Was he the worst?
Yeah,
Something to think
probably.
about.
Probably.
Because his death was
Well, I mean,
insane.
Wow.
Yeah. So the big one's like, I'm gonna call for backup, and the logical one's like, how do we explain this to anybody? And so they
Because
put
it's
down that
logic.
and they're speeding off, and then the zombie pulls the guy up and like basically
Rips his head
bites his head off or rips his head off. I don't
rips
know.
it off, I
he
guess.
has his head in his hand.
You just
in
hear a
the
little
next
crunch
scene.
and then see a flopping body.
Yeah, I
and
was like,
oh
you
my.
hear the crunch and then a flopping body, and I was like, so he ate his head, and then the next shot is the zombie standing on top of the car with the head in his hand, and I'm like, oh, what? Wait, did he just bite his head off? Like, what's happened here? I don't know.
Strong arm.
Yeah. And so, okay, and so, and I wrote the nicer bad cop. That's an oxymoron in itself. Tries to shoot Morehouse, with what ammunition does he have to shoot him with?
His cop gun ammunition.
Yeah, right. But he finally does run out. I did say, how did he get a reloaded gun? And then he runs into the mural of Morehouse and then confesses to the homeless like he was part of the plot.
I killed him.
Right?
Yeah.
He's like very crazed.
He's just like, I killed him! I killed him! And then shoots him up with heroin, like, with multiple needles of heroin.
Whoa, hold on. First of all,
I missed that.
the zombie...
Was I in the restroom at that point?
No, I don't think so.
I missed that.
Hold on. The zombie lifts him up, throws him
Yeah.
on the ground, and then there's a crack on the zombie's chest. And
Chest.
You see like a green
Yes,
light
yeah, you see
inside?
you see a green light inside, but then it's
I
like he
think-
had all of the heroin needles inside of him.
Right, it looked like a small meth lab in his chest. And I'm guessing that's from like
Oh
symbolic
yeah,
of
no,
him being-
this
missed
was,
that.
you
Oh.
missed this part.
I missed that part.
How did you miss this part?
I was probably in the restroom.
Because he started shooting needles of heroin at him that like crucified him to the mural. And then he shot one into his mouth when he was screaming, and it like boiled him into
I saw
the
that.
mural.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
That like stop motion melt.
Bubble.
Yes,
Yeah.
the stop motion melts, and then he's part of the mural, crucified.
This reminds me so much of a scene from Freddy, the third Freddy,
Oh,
where he kills that one girl who had an addiction problem. He kills her with needles.
Is that the one in the dream? Or, like
Yeah.
in the
yeah,
that
his knives turn into needles, and he
Lord.
just sticks into her arm.
okay.
I do remember that. Different movie.
Different movie.
that
Yeah,
that sort of weird trend with drugs using it
yeah.
in 80s.
Well,
90s.
I mean, it's that whole like war on drugs,
Right.
like that was not good for anybody, and was essentially just a plot to put more black people in prison.
right.
Yeah.
Essentially, I mean,
And then
Sorry.
Morehouse decides to punish Claire,
Clarence,
which is
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, he strangles him, and then he ends up in a mental institution.
Because he's like, "Where were
prison."
you, brother?"
Where were
Yeah.
you, brother?
Yeah. And they brand him as a cop killer.
And that's an interesting thing. Like, this movie, it's like, oh, is this like it went crazy, but like really just kill people? Like, I'm not sure how fantastical this is. It keeps dancing back and forth because, like, did he kill those people?
Yeah, was this just like delusions in his
Y-
head? Well,
yeah.
Well, because then the next story is kind of like, is it just
Yeah.
Right. It's all perception.
Yeah.
This is reality.
But
That's true.
Yeah.
well, and then they come out of that story with the guys going, "That's insane in the membrane," and I'm like,
Oh, references.
"Oh, the
Say it in the
90s."
membrane.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be. Like, it could have just been all in his mind.
Yeah.
Could have gone insane after.
Yeah. But
But how do you melt his body in the mural?
yeah.
How'd they explain that, Dev?
Yeah. See, yeah, that's where. Okay.
That's why maybe
next
it's just an allegory.
Yes, next one.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so it quickly goes into the next story about, and they show the caskets or the things that reference the next stories, and so they showed the cop killer, the branded cop killer, in his casket for the first one. The second one,
They didn't.
you just see the back of the casket. And
Yeah.
find out why. And the whole tagline is "What is and isn't real in the mind of Walter." And so it's a little boy. He's in his bedroom. It's a very nice bedroom, but there's like growling and stuff coming through the door, and the doorknob turning, and like the door shaking. And then he's the new kid in his school, and so he has to be introduced to his class, and which I sat
And
there
they
and I was
immediately
like,
beat him up.
yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Like immediately, like let's not waste time.
Well,
with
and
this.
they're
Everyone meet
wearing,
Walter. Boom, 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 boom. Like,
yeah. I was just like, what?
That was pretty.
I mean, firstly, I was like, I never had a situation in high school or in school where the new kid had to get introduced to the whole class, like their first day.
Yeah.
I don't remember that ever having to happen. Jake remembers that happening
But that was in
middle
France.
school, but that was in a different country. So
I
was
bet
like,
that the different country got
Do
it from
you?
American movies, which
yeah,
never
and I'm
happened
like,
in real life.
Yeah, I was like, did that happen in your schools?
I definitely don't remember getting beat up the first day. It was a couple days ago. I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, it could have
They
been
waited
a
a
couple
couple
of
of
days.
times. Like,
I don't
come
know.
on, honor.
Yeah, so he gets into a fight, and the kid's name is Tyrone, and then, like, he gets interviewed by his teacher after the fight, and the nurse is like, oh, he's got a black eye, but that's not from the kid. That's been there for a couple of days. And he's like, who did this to you? Was your mom or something who did it? And he's like, I'm not telling you anything, basically. Or no, he tells him it was the monster.
Yeah.
That's in his
And the monster
room.
told him that he wouldn't believe him.
Yeah.
Right, because the teacher's like, when you want to tell me the truth, you can talk to me. And he's like,
Yeah.
you said no one
He
believes.
said no one
I got the sense that the nurse perhaps was like, you fucked up. Why would you say that? Like, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, I get so annoyed when he said, when you're ready. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
not how you help kids. Obviously, the monster is a metaphor. It's a
Yeah.
metaphor, people.
Yeah. Well, we don't know that, but yes, we find out later on that he has all these drawings of these monsters, and then he has a drawing of Tyrone, and he's like, the girl behind me said, if you draw these, what scares you, and then burn the pictures, they'll no longer scare you.
It's like, thanks, Lori.
Yeah. Thank you, Lori. And then the teacher's like, I kind of want to meet your mom because you're coming up with all these weird random bruises, and I just need to have a talk to your mom, and especially about these pictures where you're drawing these creepy ass monsters. Right. And no, that was after. Was it after or before? Because he crumples the picture of Tyrone.
Then he walks away, and Tyrone's picture is what was left.
It's a little bit later, but yeah.
He crumples a picture of Tyrone, and Tyrone has to get sent to the emergency room really quick.
It's like off screen, but you can like hear Tyrone screaming and like crunching, and it's like
And then the teacher's like, I don't know what happened. He just kind of like dropped.
Fell down the stairs.
Yeah.
Right. So like, how do you break both arms and both legs? It's like, Walter's a witch.
Yeah. And
You're a witch, Walter.
Oh, witch, Harry. And then, so the teacher goes to his house to meet his mom, and his mom answers the door in a bathrobe.
Yes. Very
And
flirtatious.
She's very
What is going on?
overtly flirtatious.
Very fresh. She was really feeling
Like,
herself.
really? Okay.
I'm still
and
not
then-
sure why she was written
know.
that way. Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense later.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Right.
It really doesn't. So.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't.
So she's like, oh, let me go put some clothes on and then you can come in. And so she shuts the door on him. Not like, hey, you want to like wait in the living room and I'll go get dressed and meet
just
you there.
leaves him
like,
outside.
leaves him outside. He gets shit on by a bird in the nighttime.
Yeah.
there's some issues with that. Yes, I hear that.
There's a few things that I'm like, okay. And then she's dressed, pulls him inside, and then like goes to clean off the bird shit. But she's just like, oh, my boobs are on you while I'm cleaning off the bird shit. And I'm like, oh, that's awkward. Okay, whatever.
Alexandra, I was staring at the hands. What were you staring at?
I was looking at the shit on his shoulder.
This shit.
And he's trying to talk to the mom about Walter's issues, but she's just still being aggressively flirty.
And very dismissive, just being like, everyone has issues, right?
Look
in my eyes.
He's the new kid. New kids always have issues, and it's like, okay, they don't always have to, but all
I mean, all
right.
kids have problems, don't they?
But then the moment that he brings up like the
monster.
monster, that's when she like flips all of a sudden. Yeah.
She's like, we told you not to do this anymore.
And it's like, Walt, get in there.
Yeah.
I said, get your narrow behind in this kitchen now.
And then all of a sudden the car like a car outside honks, and she's like, oh Lord, and then like tries to push him and send him off to his room, and is like, you need to go, like, and kind of goes to the door, and there's this guy. What was his name?
That is David Alan Grier.
Well, no, I know it's David Alan Grier, but what was the character's name?
So
It doesn't
Honey?
even matter. It's like
Carl.
Carl. Just Carl.
Carl. Just Carl.
It's just Carl.
I mean, in my notes, he becomes
Carl.
David because I was just like, I don't know what his name is, so I'm just going to call him David Alan Grier.
Right. Welcome home, David Alan Grier.
Right?
Side note: in my memory, David Alan Grier's face was the one that got eaten by the dolls. I guess that's my brain conflating two stories together.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Well, you kind of ruined part of the next one, but
Oh, there.
we're not there yet. But, yeah, no, and we sat there and we were like, David Alan Grier, we only really know him as the guy from Jumanji.
And see, like, it took me a moment to remember that that's where I knew him from. But before I recognized him, I was just like, he looks so uncomfortable in this role.
Yeah.
He does not look like...
Well, yeah, because he comes through the door and he's basically like, woman, where were you? And like, okay, this got real aggressive real quickly.
Yeah.
And...
The actor does not look...
Yeah.
Like a monster.
This material.
Well, but he's a comedian. Like, he's
Yeah.
a comedian that has been given a role that's very aggressive.
Like,
and
very dramatic.
That is not him.
Right.
And
What do
so-
you mean aggressive?
Huh?
No.
Right.
What do you mean?
Yeah, and he's like instantly jealous of the teacher, even though
Right.
she's like, this is Walter's teacher. He's come to talk to me about something. And he's just like, who are you talking to? And like, it's the teacher. She just said if you just listen to her.
Right.
And then, what was it? Jealous of the teacher, and then teacher is like, Walter has issues that need to be like addressed, and he's like, it's normal, what are the problems? And he's like, he's drawing these monster drawings, and shows him the drawing, and he's just like, what? You're drawing these monster drawings? Like, and just starts going after Walter. And then the mom jumps in.
Well,
First, he dismisses the
Yeah.
teacher because he just has this like cold response where his face is just like, you need to show the teacher to the door now.
Sissy, would you show him to the door,
She's
please?
like, you need to go.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, and then he starts like instantly beating up on her.
Or he goes up to the room first to beat
after the
Walter.
teacher leaves, yeah.
Yeah.
The teacher's
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of like defeated, being like,
Which-
oh damn.
But the teacher hangs around.
yeah, in
In
his
the
car. for a
car
while.
outside.
What prompted him to go back?
I think he might have heard.
He saw the
yelling.
shadows
Okay.
of Carl going after Walter.
Okay, because I was like, that was random, but okay. never mind.
Yeah. It's a brief glimpse, but it's just like.
He must have
oh,
waited
Lord.
there for a little while.
He did wait there
Yeah.
for a little while because like he like whipped the shit out of the mom first with a belt before going after Walter.
That's actually the moment where the guy in the car noticed when he saw the monster whipping.
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
Oh.
the green on the monster, like, I don't know
Yeah,
if
what
this
is-
is reference to that, but I know that in the main living room, the first time, the entrance, the first time we see him, it had green walls, so maybe that's why.
Oh, maybe the green reflects on his white button-down shirts, and he looks
Perhaps.
like he's good. I don't know.
But I like the touch of the tattoo with the word monster on it.
Yeah,
Right.
that was.
He is a monster.
He is a monster. Yeah, the teacher like goes after the stepdad, and the stepdad is way stronger than the teacher somehow.
The teacher tries to punch him and he acts like it doesn't faze him in the slightest.
and
It goes on
and
for a long time.
The fight goes on. I think that's why I skipped it, because I was like, this is so much.
Yeah, it's just
Like,
going
You
on.
zoned out.
For
It's
so
like
long.
violent.
Yeah, kinda.
Violent
Well,
kitchen
because it was
brawl.
also a very terrible choreographed fight,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But It
And
just
then-
like
yeah.
there are no punches that look like they're going to land.
They spent more time with the blood and like that than they spent on actual like
choreography.
yeah.
Yeah, lots of spitting up blood.
Yeah.
He kept it looked like he kept on punching them with his open palm, like he was trying to shove their nose into the brain and
Yeah.
murder them.
He did punch Walter a couple of times.
Yes, he did.
Oh yeah, like he was wailing at the kid. He was also doing
full
this
on.
this like palm punch technique, which I think was where like he's not punching with the fist, but it's like an open tiger claw punch thing.
Right.
Well, I mean, like you can like go with like the heel of your palm up
Yeah, like
somebody's
that.
nose. And
Isn't that a kill move?
It's a break move.
It's a
Oh, I
break
thought
your
that's like
nose
a-
move.
I thought that was to like shove your nose into their brain move.
Oh god.
I mean, it's like to bust your bridge.
It scared me. It disturbed
Yeah.
me. I was like, ooh my, open
It's
palm.
upsetting. It's upsetting. And then,
frying pan.
yeah, the frying pan goes to hit him with the frying pan, and then the
Tries.
mom tries to hit him with the frying pan, and then he grabs the frying pan out of the mom's hand and goes to try to hit her.
Yeah, nobody
And
can get on
Walter-
top of him.
Yeah, and I'm like, why? He's not that big of a dude.
He's strong.
He's not though. And
He's fast. He's fast.
He's
because
fast.
dodged
Reflexes.
He is
the
fast.
punches of the
Yeah.
teacher.
yeah.
Right?
You saw that tattoo. He's a
He's
monster.
a monster. You don't get a monster by not dodging.
But but Walter grabs the drawing, and the teacher's like, you know what you have to do. And so he like crumples the drawing of the monster, which ends up
Wait,
or
hold on.
twisting the picture.
Carl raises up the pan. He's about to hit the kid's mom again, and then the kid grabs the drawing
Yeah, that's
and
what I was
folds.
saying.
Oh yeah, but you said like he said. Oh, I thought you were talking about the final thing.
Oh yeah,
which
the
is
teacher
where he
says that at
handed-
the end.
Yeah, the teacher says that at the end of all
Well,
of that.
but like he's
Before
kind of
to burn
like
it.
take the picture, and then he like twists the picture. I don't remember.
The kid
idea.
intuitively knew to
Okay.
tear
No.
up the,
Yeah.
to crunch it.
No, the mother says you know what to do. Remember?
Oh my god,
was it
why
the
is everyone?
mother?
No, he was about to hit the frying. I'm literally looking at this right now. He was about to hit the mother with the frying pan.
Right.
And so to save the mother, the kid grabbed the drawing from the floor, which had fallen because
Right.
he
That's
flipped
right.
the table over.
Yeah.
So the kid grabbed it, and as he held the frying pan on, the kid folded the arm of the monster. I don't know why he went straight for that instead of like,
Oh yeah,
And he broke
that's
his arm
right.
back.
Yeah, he broke his arm back.
but
Okay.
then twisted his arm
Yeah,
in
that
a
was,
clownish.
and it looked rubbery. It
It's
looked
so rubbery.
super weird
was so
and
funny.
rubbery.
and then his left leg.
did a leg, and it was rubbery too. And I was like, "What is he? A like
Turned into
G.I.
blubber.
Joe? Like what's happening?" Like,
When he was done with him, he looked like a melted doll.
well, I know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so he then twists him in the middle, and he drops down, and then he crumples him, and he's just like a weird ass puddle that's like, "What the hell are you guys doing to me?" And
You're
then
done.
the teacher's like, "You know what to do,"
Oh.
and like.
It was the
Oh,
mother.
not before the mom stomps on
There
her.
we go.
She needed to get a little bit of blood on her.
Ali, I
Yeah.
sense you sort of closed off in
don't-
this scene.
I don't know. It was just there was so much weirdness going on that I was just like, just kill him. Why is this not killing him?
So if we're talking about perception, like if he saw him as a monster, and so what is the significance of the drawing, like the crumpling of the drawing in reality?
I don't know.
What does that mean?
I don't know. This like negates the whole thinking before, which was
Yeah,
like,
I
oh,
don't
everything's
know.
a visual
I don't
metaphor.
know.
Right.
But then
I agree with
beat
Nemo.
him by
Yeah,
by
'cause-
burning.
Yeah, even the.
I mean by.
the- like, did he just did the kid?
Because that doesn't
just-
work in reality.
Did
You
the
can't
kid
just
just
doesn't.
burn
crumple somebody out of your life.
him?
Yeah.
Did the kid just burn him? Like, is that what happened in real life? Is the kid just set his stepdad on fire?
I think me being charitable, I would say what they're trying to say is that like you need community of close, kind people. When they come together, they can fight people who are mean. That's the closest thing I got.
Right, but it like the whole line of like what is and isn't real in Walter's mind.
Right.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that, it just kind of comes down to Walter set his stepdad on fire. Now, whether it was through a drawing or in real life.
Or gasoline.
Because they established that he was able to do that to Tyrone by himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the fact that his mother and the teacher couldn't take him down, but he could with the drawing.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Oh my
I
god.
don't know.
It just feels
Well,
like
and then they like go back to the funeral home, and you just see this like burnt corpse sticking out of it.
Oh my god, that was
Very
so funny.
crunchy.
it reminded
very
me of
crunchy.
Basket Head.
Oh, this is terrible.
Basket head?
Do you all not know Basket Head?
I have not seen Basket Head. I don't know.
Oh
What is
my
that?
goodness.
I don't think so.
Oh, it
I don't
is.
think I know.
It is a creepy thing. It was a very popular, creepy movie. Basket Head. Oh, is it Basket Case?
No, Eraserhead.
No, not Eraser.
Oh, okay, I was like,
Yeah.
no, Baskethead? No, I
Okay,
haven't heard Basket.
maybe it's Basket Case. Oh God, yes, it's Basket Case. Oh God,
Oh my.
oh God,
Oh, we'll be looking this
I
up
forgot
later.
about this.
I'm not even sure if I want to.
Oh nope. All right, let's leave this. Oh God,
So that was that.
I knew what
That
to
was that.
expect.
Yeah.
Yet
And then it goes on to the
It goes
the
back to the
dolls.
funeral home, yeah, and then the mortician is like the neck. I mean, I don't even know what he just says. He just has this fucking doll, and it was just. And in my notes, I just went dolls.
Yeah, because the mortician just keeps going, and the guys are like, "We won our shit."
motherfuckers playing with dolls
He,
now,
he
right?
mentions the tagline
But
"Way
this doll,
Station of Lost Souls."
It's a way station for lost
is what
souls.
the next story is about,
Okay.
essentially.
Okay.
Because it was like there's a soul in a doll, and you find out through the story that there's this guy who's running for governor. He's a very southern white guy named Duke.
Duke, that name.
This story.
The part about that is one of the like higher up executives in my company is called Duke.
Did you have
And
personal
he's
feelings
got a
about this?
similar like personality.
Oh Lord.
And so I'm like, oh Lord, I don't want to think about this. But yeah. So yeah.
These
so
are fictitious characters, not based.
Yeah, right, whatever. And
He's
it
openly racist.
He's openly
Openly.
racist. And like yeah, because he says something in his commercial like about affirmative action and like taking it back from the people.
Well, not
who-
publicly, like to his PR
Was
person.
that's a PR guy? Okay.
There
Yeah,
was a little
okay.
video. That's
But there
how it
was a little
started.
video, and
And
that's
it's like, yes, this is what I stand for. Vote for me. Like, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, it was terrible. But anyway, so like he's running for governor in like a
I thought that's
southern
what we were
state.
trying to get away from.
And
Metcalfe for
he's
governor.
like working with
An
his
original
PR
American.
guy to like get better ratings with the people. I'm going to assume it's like Georgia, because it seems like a Georgian type person, or like Alabama, something like that. Where
Yeah, we could probably go with that. Georgia.
yeah. He says something about like how the people who are protesting him on his front lawn are a damn minstrel show, and
Starting to
I'm
look
like,
like a damn minstrel show out there.
that was
Uncomfortable.
upsetting. Upsetting.
I mean, they really wanted to set the character, and they were like, "Let's not waste time. Let's just make
Right.
it clear that like this guy is
yeah, because he
basically
goes
not
from
interested."
saying that to like disparaging about welfare and like. And then they're going into the fact that he lives in a plantation home.
Right.
a bit under that.
And I was just like, oh, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and all their carpenter friends. What's about to happen?
I've never heard that.
I like that. And all their carpenter friends.
Carpenter team, go.
Karen Carpenter.
Yeah. Oh,
John Carpenter.
But he lives in a plantation home that the person who last owned, or the person who had to basically get rid of their slaves at the end of the Civil War, was upset about it. And so he killed all of his slaves. Was that what it was? He
massacred everyone.
He murdered all of his slaves, and
Over
he dumped
100,
them into a common burial.
Yep, up on the hill.
Up on the hill, yeah. And so after he died, they describe her as some voodoo woman.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Great.
This is just
She doesn't
great.
even get a name.
Yeah, she doesn't have a name, does she?
I don't think so.
She just
I'm
looks
gonna look
like
into
some old voodoo woman. Buys the house and decides to transfer all of the lost souls of the slaves into dolls. And they're the creepiest fucking dolls I've ever seen.
They are.
Okay. Yes, they are the creepiest fucking dolls I've ever seen.
Those eyes.
Yeah. And there's a big mural in his office of the old woman with all the dolls, and I'm like, why would you make that room, of all rooms, your office?
Right.
Like, and his desk looks at the mural.
Pretty much.
Why is there a mural in the first place?
I don't know.
Of the voodoo woman.
Yes. I don't
She
know.
was proud of her work. She just wanted to commission it. She's like, look what I did.
I don't
Yes,
know.
at the time, would a slave get a...
Yeah. Well,
be-
she's not a slave.
She wasn't a slave. But,
Yeah.
but they made a mural of the slaves.
Yeah. And I'm like,
how did this
do you
happen?
know what the slaves look like?
Her
Right.
name is Miss Cobbs.
Miss Cobbs.
Okay.
Okay.
I vaguely remembered the name Cobbs
Me too.
mentioned, and I think it was, yeah. Anyway, and it's funny they named the plantation owners the Wilkes, and I was like,
It's kind of a MacGuffin,
Wilkes
really.
Booth? But okay, yeah. Anyway, and nobody knows where the dolls are. They're somewhere, but nobody knows where they are, and then. Like the citizens want the plantation to just remain empty, like a concentration camp, because essentially that's what it is. It's a mass murder site, and nobody needs to have that kind of bad juju.
Right.
and what did he say that the PR guy called him a sick fuck?
Well, basically, the PR guy was like, I'm going to try to make it to where even black people, maybe a few black people will want to vote for you.
Yeah.
Because he's like, admittedly, you're an awful person.
Yeah. Well, and the PR guy is like mixed race or black or something. You know?
And he makes $10,000 a week, which is what?
Yeah, especially in the 90s.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
I think he calls him a sick fuck after he's told him this whole story.
Oh yeah.
About
And he's like, why do you want to live here? And he's just like, why not? And he's like,
You're a sick fuck.
Right.
That's correct.
And I was like, okay, thank you for telling him that straight up to his face.
You know, they're really chummy for, you know.
They are really
like the whole
chummy.
team's just both of them, and like they're recording each other, and apparently they can switch roles. And it's like,
yeah,
they're really close actually.
That was weird.
I thought,
and he
they were
doesn't get punished like the character in the police one.
Yeah.
How that character gets punished for allowing things to happen. This character does not.
Well,
I mean, he dies.
He dies.
He dies, but he gets killed by the white guy.
Yeah.
I'm saying he doesn't really get punished by karma. You know what?
Yeah. Do you think that the white guy wanted him to die?
No, the
or
puppet
was it
killed
an
him.
accident?
Hold on, we need to
The
go
puppet?
back. He was not killed by the Duke.
No, he fell down the stairs.
But wasn't
Because
he
the
pushed?
puppet was at the foot of the stairs.
The puppet was at the foot.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, the puppet
Yeah, he
tripped
looked
him.
back at the.
Oh, the puppet tripped him.
We went over. They were recording a little video promo
Yeah.
of him talking, like giving him like questions of like, why are you living?
So
in
then I
this
take that back.
house?
He was killed by karma, or not
Yes.
by karma, but by
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Correct.
So the doll isn't his soul. It's just some random soul that's like,
One of the slaves.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill you because you're helping this sick fuck.
Yep. I think because he made that really racist joke and was like being really chummy, where it was like, doesn't something like spook you about the house? And then
Yeah.
then he makes this joke.
Now that I think about it, that's actually an ongoing thing. We'll talk about it in the
Yeah.
next one, but
Alright.
it's an ongoing thing of punishing black people who stand by and do nothing.
Interesting.
Because that happens in the next one.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
So in 3 of the stories
Makes
that happens.
sense.
Fascinating.
It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's not something you see very often.
Yeah, it isn't. Like, usually it's the whole kind
There
of
was a
monolith.
big message behind this.
It's very much like black white.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, but there's not like, hey,
Yeah, you're enabling
you're
this
enabling
to happen.
this.
We're going to really get into that in the next story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we go to the graveyard and the farmer.
Oh yeah,
Right. Oh,
yeah.
that
So
part.
they have the funeral for the PR guy, and it's that fucking creepy ass fiddles over the funeral.
Oh, those fiddles.
And then and then the media kind of accuses Duke of, like, they don't accuse him, but they're just
rumor
like,
that Mr. Willis's death was the
people
result of
saying
some mysterious
this was a
circumstance.
mysterious death, and it's like kind of planting the seed. And then the old man, what did the old man do? Like,
They called him a
accusing him of
farmer.
the dolls? Yeah.
But he doesn't. He looks like Mr. T.
No, he was talking about reparations. He was saying that they want reparations.
Oh, okay. That makes sense, because there's a point in there where he just screams, "No reparation!" Okay.
That was beautiful, Alex.
You sound like somebody in my family who would say that, but at the same time, I thought it came out of nowhere. It was clearly
No, he's
him.
playing that stereotypical, like,
Yeah.
old man has the wisdom, but everyone thinks
Well,
he's crazy.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
the whole thing that the PR guy was saying was like, which is funny because like that's how all of these people are talking these days, are like, why should I atone for the sins of my ancestors?
Right. Oh, my ancestors had so many misdeeds, and I have enough to deal with of my own. Should
Yeah.
I have to answer for theirs?
Yeah, at the same time as answering for my own, and it's like, you're not helping things
Yeah.
Nope.
at all. So yes. And then, oh yeah,
Not to mention
he
just
like,
pissing people off by being in a plantation.
oh yeah, that guy talks to him about reparations, and he's like, "No, I'm getting in my car," and like shuts him out. And then the doll is in the car, and he's like, "Oh hell no!"
Yeah, right? That would have been my reaction to it. I'm like, oh, hell no.
He reacts very badly, and
Yes.
I wish he would have actually done that in the movie. Oh, hell no.
I mean, he does kind of.
and the driver is
So
also
hell
like
no.
really pissed to be
Like
accused.
throws it out.
Right? He's like, who'd you let in this car?
No. He goes. Before he gets in the car, he goes,
Can't we all just get along?
And somebody in the background's going, "Hell no!"
Oh my
My
god.
favorite moment of the whole
Yeah,
movie.
hell no.
Oh, hell no.
That's what it was. There was somebody. in
It
the
didn't
place.
sound like it was meant to be a line of dialogue. It sounded like one of the extras
Somebody
just
said
went,
it.
hell.
There's like, yes,
And they just
keep this
kept
in.
it.
Yes,
Just kept it.
yes, thank God.
Oh, that was so
Can't we all
good.
just
get along?
Get along.
Hell
no! And then Karma.
And then
the
Karma.
doll's
And then
right
Karma.
there in the damn car,
Who'd
and
you
he's
let
like,
this vehicle-
"Who let somebody in my car?" And they're
I'll
like,
let no
"Nobody's
one
been
in
in
the
this
car,
car."
sir.
And he's like, "Ah, get this doll out of my car."
This doll, can we just take a moment to describe how creepy this doll looks? These eyes.
It looks kind of like the doll from Saw.
Well, at
Like,
first it looks sort of normal.
yeah.
It's just like a very blank expression, but it's still the eyes. Something about those eyes.
Yeah.
The pupils and the irises, the way
Yeah.
they were carved into it. I'm like, I hate this doll.
Right.
I personally just hate this doll. It's very creepy.
It's a creepy doll. It's a super creepy doll, and it gets creepier.
Yeah, it keeps modifying.
It keeps modifying, and it's almost like the dolls from Barbarella. Like, they were real cute until they were set off, and it was like, ah! And I've got fucking metal teeth coming at you. Like,
God, those Barbara.
fucking dolls in Barbarella.
So, side note, like there are some moments in this movie where you could tell where they put the budget, because there were some moments that were like, I'm sorry, that whole scene we talked about with the melting,
Oh,
like that
The
scene where,
claymation melting.
well, that, but also like what, like when the bad stepfather is getting like bent all sideways. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
ridiculous
Yeah.
looking. It looked so bad.
Oh,
The
and-
doll animation, it's not the best. But for the
But
budget,
it's still fucking creepy.
it's creepy, but it's still pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
it was seamless animation.
Yeah.
So I'm like, they put all their money into
Yeah.
that scene.
Makes sense why that scarred me the most.
Right?
Actually, so the thing, for my part, like, and the reason I suggested this movie because that was the one that terrified me. Now that I watch it, it seems kind of funny and not as scary at all. Like,
Well,
I
and the
lost
best-
my fear completely.
The best part is when, so firstly, he goes back to the house and it's like late at night and he's rewatching the video of the accident. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, are you getting off on it?
That's a good point. Why did he watch that? Did he really like that guy?
I don't know if he like remembered the puppet, like it referenced in his brain, maybe.
Oh, he did.
So
he
he
definitely
went back.
did notice the puppet.
Oh, maybe he was like trying to see if it was the puppet
And-
that tripped the guy.
And that's when he saw the puppet when he slowed the video
Yeah,
down. And it was at
yeah.
the base of the stairs.
And then there's the puppet again, and then he looks over at the mural and the puppet's missing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
In that mural, like,
Right.
because he was the one that was sitting on her lap, and like, there's just a.
A whiteout. It was like a
White
whiteout. It was a silhouette.
Yeah.
That's the best part. Is just like you didn't even bother to make it disappear. You just painted over. The
Yeah.
doll. Is what you did. I'm
Right.
just sitting there like, okay.
No, I
know what you've done. You just painted over.
You just
the
painted
doll.
over it. That's your budget.
In white. Yeah.
No, I think that was fine. I think that was a fair choice because that way
I
the
mean,
audience.
yeah.
Otherwise, they'd be like,
It
"Why are we
highlights the fact that the doll's missing. Otherwise, if you didn't know that the doll was there, because
Right.
the first time I saw the mural, I didn't notice. Like I noticed that she had a doll in her hand, but I didn't know it was that doll.
Yeah.
Right.
Me neither.
So, anyway, but then there's
Knock
like
at the door.
small panting running.
Oh my god, I hate it. I hate it.
I thought it was a
much.
dog.
Right.
and then
tap, tap,
stops,
tap, tap.
and then it's just like,
It's like,
yeah, and then
Hiding
takes on
behind
the
a tree.
phone, and then there's a small knock, and then he opens the door, and then there's just these tiny fucking footsteps that walk through. Like what? And then Duke knocks on the door, and then the doll is on the stairs, and then
Yeah, he turns around
Oh.
just being like, what the hell?
yeah,
There's
and
nobody
then
at
he
the door.
goes, and then it like leaves, and then he goes, "Where the fuck did your little black ass come from?"
oh my god, yes.
And I
And
was like, "Oh Lord!"
and
And
then it's a
this is
string
when it just becomes a string of the
of racial
N
slurs.
word and racial slurs
oh,
Yeah.
that my brain was like, how do I even reference this in my notes?
Lots of asterisks.
I just didn't even do that. I just put N word, more N words, dashlets, more racial slurs. I just like, oh god.
It became more. As I was watching this, I was like, "Oh, it's making like obviously he was putting on that face for everyone, but in his
Yeah.
privacy, it's like here's the real him." And I guess obviously
And
that's what
this-
they were going for.
And this is the part where he
episode.
goes, "No reparations!" And then doesn't he throw the vase?
He
No,
throws a
that happened
giant
at the
blue
door.
and white vase at the doll, who disappears
And then the
mid
tiny
vase.
And the tiny ring.
And then the fiddles, and then the tiny running, and then he looks at the mural and he's freaked out and he attacks the mural flatly.
Not yet. That's when he looks at the mural and he's like, wait a minute, what's going on? Then he turns around and it's revealed like the puppet is alive, swinging on the sconce. And it's like, oh
yeah.
shit.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's all like, and then its eyes are super creepy and it jumps on him and bites his neck.
No. He attacks the mural with the flag flat on, and the
First.
mural starts bleeding.
Oh, yeah.
And then he turns around and the doll is on the chandelier,
You're right.
swinging, and then he swings and jumps onto the guy and starts biting his neck.
That's right. The mural bleeds first.
Yeah.
Ellie's got it
And then-
right.
Yeah, and then he attacks the doll with the flag once he gets it off of him and like
Right.
tries to, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Let me snack it.
the thing is, he doesn't even use the pointy end of the flagpole. He just flat on like hits things with the flag, and I'm like,
Symbolism.
Right.
Symbolism.
I know,
I'm
I know
an American.
I know it is.
Duke.
Because symbolism.
Yeah. And then he looks back at the mural and screams another profanity or another racial slur. And then there's more dolls missing. And then...
Not yet to be revealed, but there's somewhere. You hear pitter-patters
Yeah,
somewhere.
you hear pitter-patters. But he takes the doll and he puts it on that target.
That dartboard.
Yeah. And then he shoots and he misses and blows off like he shoots and misses. And then he shoots again and blows off only half of the doll's face.
Right. And that's
then
two
he's
shots
like,
of
oh,
double
that's
barrel.
good. Yeah. That's what I'll do. And then he knows that there are more dolls missing. And then he goes to load the shotgun again, but he's like fumbling with it.
Oh, because the doll has like taken itself off the dartboard, putting itself back
And
together.
put its head back together. I'm like, what? Wait, how? What?
How? Yeah.
How? Wait,
It's
how?
a ghost doll.
Yeah, it's ghosts.
Ghosts.
We probably shouldn't be questioning the logic.
The
of
logic,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and I'm just like,
It's a regenerative puppet.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Like.
Yeah.
Good enough.
One image that really stuck in my mind during that whole scene was after when all the dolls.
are missing off the mural.
Yeah, and then they all come
And then
together,
they're
and
like-
he's hiding himself with the flag.
Under
Yes,
a flag.
yes.
I'm an American
He's
patriot.
hiding under the flag, and he's like kind of caressing the flag, and I'm like, oh, it's like Trump whenever he started molesting that flag.
Oh, shoot. Oh, my God.
That's how I saw it. Like all I saw was Trump molesting a flag, and then he gets like
He gets eaten.
And this part's not scary. I'm just like, hell yeah.
yes,
terrible.
All I
do
can
it.
think is symbolism.
Experiment. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, now it's not scary at all, right? But like that was the terrifying thing that traumatized me was a
Yeah.
bunch of them attacking. That was the nightmare
Yeah.
I had as a
Well,
kid.
and like the voodoo lady comes
Miss
out of the
Cobb.
painting. Yeah.
And she's
This
just sitting
Cobb
there.
Just enjoying
And
this.
she's
Why
just
isn't she
like,
helping?
Yes, do it. This is my
Eat him.
bidding. Yeah. Finish him.
Right.
Like,
Oh, Tales from the Hood. Okay, so yeah. Oh, they were
more
just
story.
eating
yeah.
blood and like the camera moving
Yeah.
really fast. Oh,
Yeah.
that was
It's
weird.
really intense.
Yeah.
And then they go back to the funeral home, and the guys are just like, "This is fucking bullshit!" Like,
Right?
Bullshit, Bulldog.
like what's happening here? And they're
And
like,
how
"This is just a bunch of ghost stories."
Also, how unfortunate. We just get to like see the puppet that they're referencing. I'm like, I want to see what his body looked like after they chewed his ass up. We didn't get to
We
see
didn't get
that.
that.
Like, how much did they get
yeah,
into
they
it?
just showed the puppet. They didn't even show like, "Hey, there's a
Here's Duke.
half-eaten man,
There's a half-eaten
cradling a
racist
flag."
politician.
Yeah,
I think the fourth story was the most bizarre
it was
from a writing standpoint.
It was the most.
It was
It was a bizarre story.
because it's like the most like
Experimental.
what's the word I'm looking for? It was like the build up. It just falls. Anyway,
kind of. I mean, the dolls one was pretty intense. of an
Anticlimactic.
ending.
That's the
yeah,
word I
and
was
then
looking for.
This one, I was just like, I don't know if they were just running out of time
right.
to finish this story, but yeah, we'll get into it. So,
We're talking about the
last story.
the last one. Right?
Behavioral modification.
Behavioral
Yeah.
modification.
This one was honestly, I think if I was to pick one story that was like actually the most like complex, interesting one, I think I would have picked this personally for me.
It was interesting.
It
Yes,
was
I would say
interesting.
interesting.
I have a lot of thoughts about it.
There
Yeah.
was but when it gets to the point that made me like
Well,
really
and-
feel for the show.
Was
for
this
it.
was
I'll
this
let you know.
like straight up like talking about the prison industrial complex?
No, I don't think that's what it was about. I feel like
Kind
this
of.
was really talking mostly like black on black crime.
Yeah. That's
Well,
what
there
I
was
saw.
that too, but I think it was like the fact that the prison industrial complex doesn't like really, they do the rehabilitation, but they really just foster the.
See, I didn't see that as the focus. I thought of it more as like the moral is the doctor was saying, hey, look at everything that black people have gone through. Why are you adding to this?
Yeah.
With your
your
violence.
She did.
And even the guy that put him this. Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
So you have
Lots
this
of-
guy who has like these really insane lamb chop sideburns.
Oh my god, yes.
Because we just saw him in a casket dead. They're like, what
Yeah.
the hell?
Yeah.
And they're all like, wait a minute.
Yeah, and they act like, oh, hey, we know this guy, and he's like, how do you know this guy? Like, as if I don't already know.
Right.
And he's like, nothing, we don't know him.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Right.
We didn't know him. He was just a nigga we seen around.
And so the guy's driving his car. The next thing is we see the same guy driving his car, and then he sees this one guy pass him, and he's like, oh, what the fuck? Like, and like
Yeah.
turns around to go chase the guy, and he like gets out of his car. It's about drugs, right?
No explanation.
No
They don't
explanation.
Yeah,
explain
there's
it.
no
He's some
explanation.
reason-
Like, I assumed it was like a gang situation. Like,
Yes, it was absolutely a gang
It's gang
situation,
violence.
or like all about you disrespecting me. I think that's
Yeah.
what we're supposed to
is
get.
it a
at.
disrespect?
Oh yeah, he
did
said
wanna shoot
something
his
about
bitch
him.
ass.
He mentioned that the guy said something about him
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
and then shot him.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because he was like, yeah, I heard you saying shit about me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is disrespect.
Okay, so it was a disrespect thing that related to gangs
Yeah.
and yeah.
then
Anyway,
he
so
shot
he
him.
just shoots him with like very little explanation about it, and then that guy's friends come out of the house and start shooting him,
Right.
and he's on the ground just spitting out this blood that to me just looks like fucking paint.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me of the blood in Sweeney Todd, where it's just oversaturated
Rated
red.
red. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, there's just cops around
show up
everywhere,
from
just
nowhere.
shooting at everybody. And then the next thing you know, like there's this lady doctor, and the orderly or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're coming through and they're like, oh, he survived. He's been here for a while. He's primed for behavioral modification.
And he's just sitting there doing sit-ups.
Yeah. And he's like, I just want to get out of here. And he's like, well, if you can go through behavioral modification, you'll be allowed to leave.
Right.
So
No. But he says something like, I know that there's no way I'm getting out of here. And she
Yeah,
says,
don't-
no, you can get out of
You
here.
can get out of here.
So why is he
Yeah.
doing sit-ups?
So
I think it's to stay, like,
But usually that
Built
means that you're
up.
trying to get out. To get
not
revenge.
necessarily.
Oh.
But if you stay fit, you ain't got to get fit.
Well, no, I think it's because you have to fight for yourself inside.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. In that sense, that makes sense.
I'd
Yeah.
make
But
friends.
usually in movies, when they do that, it's because they're like ready to get revenge, and they're like
No, you
getting
won't.
oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Like
You'd be the
a
person
like in
training
full
ground.
throttle and stuff
Get
like
your
that.
skills. Exactly. I do want to point something
I make
out.
friends.
Yes.
You make special kinds of friends.
I do want to point something out that like the person who's playing this role, like it was hard. It was very strange watching him because Candace is watching Moesha right now, and he's in that show
in
for the
that.
entirety, and he's the comic relief. He's the one that they come to for
I could see
jokes.
that, though.
And he's like, and he's really funny, and we fall in love with him as this dope, right? But here I'm seeing him here, and he's constantly putting a mean face, all about
that-
anger,
that
his
mean
pose.
face.
Even when the prison, he's like doing push-ups and like constantly.
Jake was like, "What is this mean face? Like, what is this?"
Pursing his lips the whole time, like.
Absolutely, it's like comical, really.
Yeah, I'm just like, that's why
Ridiculous.
when you said he's the comic
Yeah.
relief, I was like, well, I can see that.
But yeah, so when I saw it, when he was dragged into the, never mind.
They
Have you said
transfer him to
prison yet?
the behavioral modification,
Yeah.
like, area or whatever, but it looks like it's a fucking castle on a hill, and I
Right.
just was like, the dungeon prison? They've taken him to the dungeon prison.
You specifically said 60s sex dungeon.
Well, okay, but that's later. That's when they actually get into the behavioral modification.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
Don't lie, Allie.
That's what it looks like. Anyway, they put him in this weird cell next to a neo-Nazi
Oh, yeah.
that calls him a racial slur, like right off the bat. And I'm like, okay.
And is basically trying to get him to join his army to kill off black people.
Yeah.
But to be like one of the few black people that will be spared
Yeah,
if
and
he
he's
helps
telling,
someone. Like,
and he's
what
telling
is
him all
happening?
this by using the tattoos that he has on him, and it's like he's got Hitler and like the Nazi Reich stuff, and like he's got the N-word killer on his arm, and like I was like, whoa, okay.
Clearly establishing like he hates him. He's gonna be like,
and he's also a psycho, and they even said that he's like a mass murderer. And
in hindsight, what was the point of that scene?
I don't.
it was to
What was the
show
point of
that he. So it's to set up like, you're my enemy. I don't like you. I hate you. And then the neo-Nazi asks him, all those people you murdered, what color were they?
Yeah.
And he didn't
the
answer
whole
them.
like
And
black
he was
on
like,
black crime.
I know who they were. They were black. I like you.
Yeah. Well,
You're like.
Oh, so they're trying to set up.
because that's like that is a thing that a lot of white, like even now, a lot of white people are like, well, what about black on black crime?
Oh God,
and I'm
yes, they do that.
like, okay, but what about white on white crime? Like,
Right, like why are you pointing this out?
it
It's not a part of
happens.
it.
Yeah,
It happens.
that's not. That's not the
issue.
issue that we're discussing here. We're talking about police on black crime.
Yeah,
Right.
Like,
I know. Then they just point fingers. But what about that?
Something else about this scene. Well, first of all, when he was put into the jail cell next to the neo-Nazi, the supremacist,
Yeah.
that's when I started thinking, oh, is this a metaphor for prison system, right? But then I was thinking, what are those dead bodies that were hanging upside down
In the bags.
in bags? What's that
I didn't
about?
even see that.
Oh, I saw that.
Mysterious experimentation.
Yeah, I thought it was just weird experimentation.
I just remember being like, oh, that's boobies.
Well, but also it could be a metaphor for all the people who die in prison from just the fact that the prison system is not
It's like body
helping
processing.
them.
Right.
It's not helping them.
Yeah.
It's making things worse. I mean, it's encouraging violence from prisoners on prisoners, like, and even the people who are not engaging in that kind of stuff, if they have some kind of health condition, they're not getting taken care of.
Right.
So I don't know. I was just like, I could see that as being the thing. I also in this scene was just like, is this the prequel to Get Out? Like,
Yeah.
it just
Right, weird experimentation going on. What's happening?
what's happening here?
I remember thinking, oh, this is where all their prop budget went to. It was this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous set.
This ridiculous. And then here we get into the 60s sex dungeon.
I know. It's like, look at this nurse's outfit.
It's straight up like something seeing Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Right. This little like.
Before Austin Powers was even a thing.
Right. This little like keyhole short dress skirt. Thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
And it's like
With this
pleather.
very revealing underwear.
Yeah, well, yeah, and they strip
Left
him.
nothing to be imagined.
They strip him down. Like before, he was in white shorts the whole time, like baggy white shorts, and then it's like, let's strip him down, and it's like, oh, I've just got basically a thong, like
Very
banana hammock on.
I was like, this is starting to get kind of nasty.
Yeah, and then they lay him on the table and stuff and strap him down. I'm like, what kind of BDSM craziness is about to happen?
They put this weird thing that's like a screw thing. At
It's
first, I
above
thought
his groin, but
Yeah.
it does look like it's on.
I
his
thought it was
groin.
on his groin, but then I saw like it was pushing his junk down, but it was
Yeah.
like right on his abdomen.
Yeah.
and she was getting like this weird like pleasure out of like tightening
twisting
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
It's like ha.
I think at that point I was really. I mean, I probably felt this earlier, but like I was seeing how much she was holding him and she was detesting him. Like she doesn't think highly of him.
yeah, like on the way to this 60s sex dungeon, she's talking about like how much of a piece of scum he is.
That's right. That's right.
But she does say that he has a high IQ, so she doesn't understand why he's fallen into this path that he's
Oh,
fallen
that's right,
into.
yes.
And it's like, well,
And she randomly
it's
asked him if he's
nature
interested in
versus
science.
Nurture. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't go anywhere. doesn't really follow it up with any
I guess.
other reason for asking that question.
Right, like, did he have ambitions before?
Yeah, he must have
crime?
had ambition. Like, he must have been a smart kid that had ambitions, and then just by the nature of where he grew up in,
Right.
he didn't have the means to even explore that. So he just fell into the drug scene, I
But we don't
assume.
explore that at all.
Yeah,
We just
like,
don't
it's
even
not
address it.
explained. The weird part is this woman who's the doctor, I've seen her in a Golden Girls episode.
Was she the mother of...
No.
Okay.
She was the older woman that Dorothy's son
Mary's?
wanted to marry.
Oh, was that her?
Yes.
I've seen that episode.
Yes.
Goodness.
That's her.
I love making connections.
If you could see Kevin's expression right now.
Oh my gosh.
He's about
Okay.
to have an aneurysm.
Cool.
So it was
Got it.
really odd seeing her in this position. But anyway, so yeah, like, I just wrote, she's playing with his ding dong. My notes. But anyway. So, yeah, they like lower him and then raise him and then spin him, and I'm like, oh Lord, what's
They shove
happening? And
that
then they
tube.
just start, they shoving tubes up his nose.
It's like,
Oh.
it's like the extreme
And I was
COVID
just like,
testing.
I can't
Oh,
watch
God.
it. Yeah, I wrote
Yeah.
that down too. It was like, COVID tests?
I thought it was really funny because, like, for me, it was like super clear that she wasn't actually shoving; she was just moving her hand up
Oh, I
and
know.
down.
Right,
It was just
up
like,
and down.
I was like, that's a nice technique.
I was like, what is, oh God. But then they just start showing terrible images of lynching.
Oh my
gang
God.
violence,
Very upsetting.
and KKK.
And it goes on for a long
And
Like,
it's with,
for a
it goes
long
on
time.
for like a good 2 minutes with this like weird 90s rap song on top of it that I was just like, I can't even focus on the lyrics of what's happening here because these images are with me.
Very upsetting to watch. And it was showing that contrast between like a bunch of KKK like lynching black people in trees and killing them.
his gang.
To
And-
like black people killing other black people.
Exactly. It just keeps coming back and forth, being like,
Yeah.
look at this. Do you see what's wrong here?
And then she's like talking to him over all this, and she's like, "What's wrong, Jerome?"
Wait, hold on. I apologize. He hasn't been dropped in the hole yet, has he?
No.
Like,
No,
he's still
not yet.
spinning on the table.
No, he's just spinning
Yeah.
on the table.
Yeah, they
Right.
they intercut like archive footage of
Yeah.
lynching and pictures, but then they show like scenes
Live action.
from the characters that are like violent on
Yeah.
it's bizarre.
Yeah.
It was
then-
so bizarre. It was so long. It was like, we want this to sink in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I get, but it's like, watch American History X or something.
And after that's gone for a while, they're like sensory deprivation chamber,
Yeah.
which was
Well,
not.
Which was
It's
not
not
she-
a sensory
But she made
deprivation
this
thing.
whole this whole thing where who was the first person to kill was Cain, and he killed his own brother.
Right.
And so
Right.
she like linked him to being like Cain.
Right.
How
She's
many
like,
have you
How many
brothers
brothers
have
have
you
you killed? Like, it was like, it's again this whole like,
Community.
yeah,
Right, like-
you're not helping the situation, you're making this worse.
Right.
Right.
Like, you need to
Or
see the
doing
real
nothing
enemy.
at all. Or you're
Well, it's also
sick.
solidarity with your fellow man.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then,
is this what Jake's talking about with the always punishing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once again, like she says, how many brothers have you killed?
Yeah.
What she means is how many of your fellow black
people.
black people have you killed?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's like the
Well,
clearly
and it
punished.
gets even more intense with that message whenever she drops him into the sensory deprivation chamber, which is not sensory deprivation.
More like
It's
strobe
just-
No, it is
chamber.
not.
Trigger warning strobe lights.
Oh my god, they
Like,
really should have said that.
By the way, if anybody is listening that wants to watch this movie after this, be warned. There is a strobe light scene that
And
goes
it goes on for a long
time. So be warned.
Be warned. If you have
This
any,
movie
if you're prone to seizures, do not watch that part of
Just
the
skip that scene.
It was like a 5 minutes.
It was like a 5-minute scene of non-stop strobe light.
Yeah.
Why?
The whole time.
And it's just like, it's a guy that he killed confronts him, and it was about drugs. And then the next was a drive-by shooting victim. 2 drive-by shooting victims come up to him and be like, why did you do, and then it was about drugs again. And
The
it was
little
like,
girl.
The little girl, she was just an innocent bystander. And he's trying to, make all these excuses and justify for why he killed all these people. And even for the little girl, he makes up a justification. It takes him a while to make up that justification.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, you were in the wrong
No,
place at the wrong time.
A bullet doesn't have a name on it.
I thought that was
like,
very intriguing. A bullet doesn't have a
Name.
name on it. I thought that was I don't know, like that. I think that was the moment where I was like, wait, is this getting deep? And
Yeah.
I
This is actually-
like, if we got rid of the strobing, I think I really like this.
Yeah, I was like, if you could do away with the strobing,
Guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
And monkeys, if they have a gun.
Brackets, if they've got a gun.
If they got a gun.
gun.
Sorry, Eddie.
Those Eddie Izzard quotes, right?
That's awesome.
How about we give a monkey a gun and just let him loose? Do you have a gun? Do you have a gun? Anyway, sorry. And then it's just, and the doctor comes up with all these other people that he's killed in some way or another, whether he was personally involved with it or it was a wrong place, wrong time, or something else. And he just
And the doctor kind of joins in.
the doctor's like, why aren't you listening to them? Is it something that you don't want to hear? And he's just like, what about the nightmares, that I've had, or what about the nightmares of the poor? And she's like, you don't have to let your environment dictate how you end your life.
You can end the nightmare.
Yeah. You need to take responsibility for your own actions,
Right.
and not anybody else. And he's just like, who's responsible?
Exactly. He refuses.
Yeah.
Which
And he refuses to his dying breath.
Yeah.
He just cannot get what she's saying and cannot escape.
Well, and that's interesting because then it cuts right back to the scene where he got shot and then he dies.
Well, but as he's screaming, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. And I'm like, that's your whole problem, dude, is you don't seem to give a fuck.
But here's the thing, like
about the harm you've caused to your fellow brother,
Right.
So
Well,
I
see-
suppose that was supposed to represent a spiritual opportunity, in his mind. Maybe,
Because all of that happens within the span of seconds because that's all happening inside his mind
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
while
it
he's
really-
bleeding to death. So that makes sense.
Well, and with all that operatic music on top, that you were like, you only use this for a religious significance.
So this is where we get the true reality. Instead of the 3 people running away and not killing him, they gun him down right there and finish him instead.
What is the name of that song that's used in everything? Is it
A Fortuna?
Well, the one that-
Oh Fortuna?
Yeah, the one
It's like
that
the
you
poor
keep-
man's Oh Fortuna.
Yeah, it was not Oh Fortuna, but it definitely sounded like that.
It was like a
Fortuna
rip-off of
vibes.
Fortuna.
I want
Tuna.
Give me tuna.
I didn't. So it didn't make sense.
Sorry.
It did not make sense. And then it made sense.
Yeah.
But it still didn't make sense if
Yeah.
they used it earlier. It's like,
It's
why?
like you've got to talk it out.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. I mean, that's the whole point of these types of movies. It's
Think
it's
about it.
trying to get you to think. And
Right.
you have to almost get in a group of people and go, what the fuck did I just watch?
Right. Exactly.
Like,
Is that what we're doing right now? Is that
Pretty much,
Is this
yeah.
okay.
that's what it is.
Is that what we're doing? Okay.
yes. Anyway, you
By
were
the way,
going to say
one
something.
last thing about this, my favorite, I think my favorite of all of them, because is the end, is the fact that after they he doesn't give in, he doesn't admit that oh no, I was wrong, I should have changed, right? Is kind of the thing that makes me respect that story the most is that like they didn't try to like shoehorn, like they didn't try to redeem him. They basically left
just
him
like,
in the
look,
thing because
if
like
you don't,
like I have pity on that character. I actually feel that character is a tragic story. I don't feel hatred. I feel like pity, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, it's like I don't know how. Like, is a character that chooses to a person who's experienced something and that basically can't be redeemed. I mean, at that moment, I don't know if they'll never be able to be redeemed, but like, it's a certain sort of stone-headedness that you have to come to terms with that some people will have, and I think that's what I liked the most about this is that like it was never going to repent, and not because it's evil, but because of its experiences. Anyway, that was my favorite of that.
Well, and
that,
so
that was bold.
It's definitely the most interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but having gotten to this point, we then realized that the 3 guys that gunned him down are the 3 guys in the funeral home with the mortician, and
twist.
he's like, I know what you guys did.
Right.
And now they're like,
now they're pissed.
You know, they're still just like, where's the shit? Let me get out of here. Like, I don't want to like think about what we just did to this guy. Essentially.
Come on, old man.
And then the old man has this like nonsensical rambling.
It's like the shit, the poop, the poopity. That's the most bizarre.
He does say the
poopity
so stupid.
We had on subtitles, so yeah, I was like, oh my god, the poopity poo.
The poopity
and then he's like, come with me down into the basement and I'll give you the shit down there. And like they go down and it's just like cobwebs and books, and one of the books is open to like, it just says death on it, and I'm like, oh, foreshadowing.
And he's like lighting up light bulbs with his finger, and I'm like, come on, y'all.
You start to realize, oh, he's supernatural.
He's
come on,
supernatural.
y'all.
Something kind of crazy is about to happen. Doesn't he like pistol whip the guy?
Yeah, they hit him.
Yeah,
again.
they do pistol whip him.
They pistol whip him, and they're like, give us the shit so we can get out of here. And then he's like, oh, it's over there, and there's 3 coffins, and they're like, okay, cool. And I was like, no, dude, that is like clue number 1.
Yeah, 3 coffins. There's 3 of you.
Yeah.
Like, get the
That
hit.
should be clear that this is not going to end well.
Yeah. And then they're like raising their guns at him, and like the guns dissolve. They
do that.
burns
That
them.
They
crappy.
burn?
That crappy like red
Yeah.
overlay. That's
You're right,
supposed to be
that was
like
really
it's hot.
bad.
Yeah.
It's like some Star Trek bullshit.
Yes, it was some Star Trek bullshit.
Like early Star
Like
Trek
Next Generation.
Did you?
crap.
Does this mean hot? Is
Yeah,
this hot?
Is red
Red.
mean hot? Does glowing red mean hot? And then they looked at themselves in the coffin, but one of the guys looks like he was in a river before.
No. One looks like a mannequin.
Yeah,
it looks like
one's
one of
very,
those
like,
like resuscitation mannequins that you practice on. That's what it looked like.
And obviously it was because they had to have him at the same shot as his great
that's
self.
true.
Right.
I guess the other guys,
That's why it looks so bad.
like, it was
They
just an
cut.
arm
They did
opening.
cut. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. I was like, why does the guy look so different? Anyway.
That's right.
So then the guns get hot. They drop the guns, and he goes, "Welcome to hell, motherfuckers."
Yeah, but before that,
extend
he's
that
like,
S.
"You're not in a funeral home."
Yeah.
He just has this like weird moment where he
Yeah.
escalates really
Yeah.
quick.
It's just a crescendo.
You're
It's just
not
building.
in a funeral home. Welcome to hell, motherfuckers.
Welcome to hell!
And like on the
Snake
S,
tongue.
the forked tongue
Oh,
comes
it
out.
is the worst CGI.
Okay,
ever.
the tongue was bad, yes.
It was so
Oh
bad.
yeah, it's bad.
And then he just straight up transforms into the devil.
And he looks so much like Tim Curry in Legend.
Yeah.
Like
Does.
darkness.
The same
Just a bit
exact-
more slimy and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not as good.
not as good. Well,
as
I'm not gonna say
scaly,
good
it
looking,
was
but
like-
not as like
Well, not as well.
Human.
Not as well made.
Yeah, he's not animal.
Again, poor man's
Whatever.
version.
Yeah. He doesn't look like a human.
And they put this
there's just
awful
this
flame
weird anime. Oh,
overlay
yeah,
on top of them, like they're burning.
Oh God!
If any of
Yeah.
our viewers have not seen this movie, we highly recommend it.
By the way,
very
who
tiny.
here was? When did you realize? Like, I was surprised. I did not know until he said the words. Like, is it actually hell? Oh, it's hell! Like, I did not see this twist until that moment. Who was the earliest to see it? Who saw it earlier?
I remembered it when I was little that like
That
he
he
was bad. I
tried.
remembered that.
Okay.
I wasn't I didn't know it was going to be straight up the devil. I was thinking like he was going to be some sort of spooky like.
Yeah.
Because the whole movie, I just got this
I
vibe
was
of like
just
creep
like,
show.
oh, he's
Yeah.
gonna kill him. I was like, oh, he's gonna kill him.
Right.
This is it. He's gonna kill him. And
So
then,
that was quite the twist.
But then when he was like, welcome to hell, and then he just dissolved into the devil, I was like, oh, you took it that one extra step further. I was like,
It really was.
I thought you were gonna
Escalated
leave
so
the
quickly.
devil as a human. Like the devil is like the hell is on earth.
Yeah.
So now that we've revealed that, so is
All the dramatic
So is the
outcomes.
doctor like an angel or God?
The
Maybe.
doctor.
She might have been like an angel
She
giving
was
him an opportunity.
she was all in light
This is your
Yeah.
at
last
the end
chance,
of it.
Jerome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if she
Fascinating.
was an angel, if she was that kind
Yeah.
of character, fascinating that she was so judgmental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Because like that was a very different take on.
She was judging his human soul.
Yeah,
But yeah.
like
so-
Anubis or shit.
So
And
the
then credits. Yep.
so yeah, everyone who was dead in that place was in hell. Everyone in every one of those bodies was in hell.
Yeah.
The guy who was called the monster was in hell. The guy who
So the puppet soul was in hell.
That's what I was going to say. I
Yeah,
feel bad. So all
right?
the slaves
Like-
are in
That
hell.
sucks.
Or
That's a
has he
bit
empowered their
confusing.
souls and their tools of death on Earth?
Not necessarily.
No?
you don't think
Not
so?
necessarily. I would say that everybody that was maybe I don't know.
I know, right? Like maybe they were just props to tell a story. Maybe it had
Yeah, I
nothing-
think so. I think
but-
they were just props to tell a
Right.
story.
Maybe
Also-
the mortuary was like a purgatory,
Could have been.
and
Interesting.
he specifically took the three of them to hell.
Oh, they did go
True.
down.
Specifically.
There was a
True.
Because they
death
kept
blow.
Yeah, they went
going
into the
further,
base.
and he was getting more and more sweaty as they went down.
Oh my God, Kevin!
He got
Yes.
super sweaty, and I was like,
was
"Oh,
weird.
you have
And-
used a lot of glycerin on
And see,
his face."
when they start at the top of the house, he has ice. And by the
That's
end,
true.
they're sweating.
Kevin, you're brilliant.
They kept going down.
How did I not notice the sweat? Yes, you're absolutely right.
I did notice the sweat, but I was just like, I thought he was just like getting really anxious, and he was
Yeah.
sweating because.
I
of
thought so
it.
too. I thought it was just
But it does make sense that as further you go down into the house, it was,
Fascinating stuff.
yeah.
All right, cool.
And then they passed through an archway in the basement.
So I made a comment. I made a comment that I wanted to bring up because you brought up Get Out, and I was telling. Oh, you brought up
Yeah.
Get Out. One thing that I noticed was in movies where they use racism as the horror. I noticed that at some point in the movie, they feel the need to create these overtly monstrous characters out of the racists. And I find it interesting because I personally feel like what's scarier to me is when people are realistic, like they're real.
Like they try to hide,
Well, like they
Or
just
it's like
act,
low-key
Yeah.
racist.
or like they're like
or they just say it in an offbeat kind of manner.
right, where it's like so normalized to the
Yeah.
point where their horribleness,
Yeah,
their
I could see that.
evil
Yeah.
is normal.
That
Whereas
they're
when
so comfortable with saying the N word that you're
right,
like,
or that the whole time they're just like la 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 la, and then all of a sudden, boom! Like,
Yeah.
so we were
Right.
talking about like people that we know. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna name names, but people
Yeah.
that we know that have a tendency to just blurt out really racist things, but the rest of the time they're just la 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 la, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, bam! They say something and
Yeah.
it just hits you.
jars you.
Yeah, jars you 'cause you're not-
Sucker punch to the
we've
stomach,
had
you're
two
like, "Oh."
situations
Yeah.
like that recently,
And
and,
you're just
we're
like,
just like,
oh
whoa.
my god, like. But in movies, they just go so over the top that I feel like it almost demeans the point a little bit. And that's how I felt watching this movie. The cop, I just felt like he was so
He
over the
was-
top
yeah, he
that I
was
can't take him
quite a
seriously anymore.
caricature, which is why the fact that you said the guy who tried to normalize it
It was scarier.
was scarier, and he was the one that died
because he actually looks
At
like
the
he's
end.
smart. I'm
Yeah.
doing quotations in the air. Smart.
Well, yeah, like,
but
yeah.
yet he's still.
Even in my notes, I was like, I kind of classified him as like he was trying to help the black guy cop, but at the same time,
he was allowing it to
wasn't.
happen,
Yeah.
and not
And normalizing
and not calling
and
like.
justifying it, like.
And so in Get Out,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of the same thing where it's like you have this white family they all look nice, la 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 la, but then they're basically torturing these black
Mm-hmm.
people. But towards the end of the movie, the daughter, she just like flips and becomes like almost cartoonish with her
Yeah.
evil. She just like
Yeah.
you could almost expect her going
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
And to me, that kind of pulls away from
Yeah.
the.
Because well, it's like
I just thought that was disappointing.
I know
I was
people
disappointed by that.
Who like
'Cause it's
they
less than
kind of
prejudice.
they kind of act like the daughter did, where it was like they basically fetishize black people,
Right.
They took it to the other.
but they will literally drop racist jokes to the person that they're with.
Right.
They can fetishize them and have no respect for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're talking about the subtleties of like racism, like as opposed to the obnoxious one where
Yeah.
it's easy to dismiss and be like, "I'm not that. That's ridiculous."
Oh, people are not
Exactly.
that,
No,
and it's
Nemo.
like-
That's exactly what I mean.
Well, and I
It's
think
like-
that's part of some of the problems where we've tried to highlight racism, but it was like we always had to make a caricature out of
Yeah.
the racists.
Right.
When it's really the people who are the subtle ones
Right.
yeah.
that are causing the worst problems.
Yes.
Well, that, and then I'm also talking about this from a filmmaking standpoint.
Right.
Like to aspiring filmmakers, like you don't have to go over the top to make a point.
Yeah.
Like you can make a character
Yeah.
racist. Like the character in Django Unchained, like
Mm-hmm.
Leonardo DiCaprio's character.
Right.
He's enough. Like he's
Yeah.
just on that border of
Yeah.
like sympathetic enough, but also awful.
Yeah.
Where you didn't need to make him
Well,
like a
yeah.
cartoon character.
Yeah.
He was scary.
Yeah.
Or the character in Inglourious Bastards.
That's what I
Right.
was just thinking.
Yeah. That's all you needed because he was scary enough.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't need
He
to go.
took too much
You don't need to be.
pleasure
I'm
out
gonna
of
piss on his grave. or,
Yeah.
I'm going to,
Yeah.
have this evil monologue of me telling you that yes, we
How
are selling
terrible
drugs,
people-
and I'm
yeah.
going to stick you with heroin. It's like
Yeah.
we don't.
when you put it like that, you know,
You know what I mean? It's like you sly dog, you got me monologuing. It's
Right.
like it's literally you turn him into an evil character. Whereas that we didn't need that. We didn't need you to do that for us to
Well,
understand he's an awful
But
person.
I feel like in the 90s, they still felt like it was
Yeah.
kind of like the 70s, where they felt like people had to be hit over the head with the lesson
Yeah.
rather than, like, I don't know.
complex.
No, you're absolutely right, Ali. And that's
bottom line
thing.
is-
like
Sorry.
when this was what I was trying to say is that like when this was made, like this is probably like still fresh, right? Like the idea of like presenting this was still like revolutionary. Like this is subtle, right? As opposed to, but like it's
As
not
opposed to
subtle
now,
in comparison
really.
to today, where it's
It
like
is not.
we've had so much of this. Like even I, growing up, seeing all the movies about the mean racists, right? It's like I just sort of, it's this trope again. Like it's a trope,
I mean, it's
right?
like
At no
Blindside,
point is it
just
like
people are just terrible for the
Right.
sake of being terrible, and I'm like,
Well, like,
the
has
fuck
everyone
is
here
that?
seen Do the Right Thing?
I
Do the right thing.
haven't,
It's a Spike Lee movie.
but I know what
I
happened.
don't think I have.
Isn't it more subtle?
It is subtle.
Then
So
there's-
it
yeah.
basically everybody in the movie is like
Yeah.
they are portrayed as people,
Mm-hmm.
but like
Because they are people.
yeah, but the guy who owns the Italian, Vincent Gardini.
Yeah.
No,
No, not Vincent.
no, it's the other guy.
Danny Aiello.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's racist, but he's also like catering to that population.
Yeah.
And so, and the guy that's working for him is also,
Black.
he's like extremely racist, like overtly racist.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right.
But then like Spike
Yeah.
Lee's character is like, look, you listen to Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
What is the color of his skin?
Yeah.
And he's like, but he's not like,
He's not
really black.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, he like has this whole conversation. He's like, listen to what you're saying.
Yeah.
But my point is like, that was a way of portraying
Yeah.
racism in a way that's like,
Yeah.
you know, there's a spectrum, there's a
Mm-hmm.
subtlety to it, not like
Yeah.
I am racist.
Yeah.
You know, I should point something that I've been thinking about is like think of something like how does the law punish like someone who is a murderer versus someone who hired someone to murder, right? Like, who gets the worst punishment? Should it be the person who instructs the other person to murder, or is it the person who does the murder itself, right?
So the Charles Manson dilemma.
Well, yeah. Like
Sure.
Even like the cops that killed George Floyd,
Yeah.
the guy who murdered him is being charged with a higher crime, whereas the people who assisted in the murder are getting charged with a lesser crime. But I'm
Right.
like, you're no lesser guilty than the guy who put the knee on the neck.
Right.
Right. I guess the reason I bring it up is because, like, I think this movie brings it up. Like, the three cops,
Yeah.
right? There's that one that just stands by and lets things happen and obeys. And there's the one that's comical, like, just really into it. And then there's one that's strategizing and making it possible for it to continue, right? And
Right.
that's the one that this movie chooses to, like,
Punish.
crucify. But, like, I think when it comes to like that comicalness, like it's easy to point at the comical one, but like the subtle one you're talking about is the middle character, that makes it happen, gives the room for the loud one. It's just that we notice the loud one more, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So even in
true.
this movie, there was subtlety. I really liked that character that looked like the intelligent cop or whatever we call him, because like
The guy from Lost Highway.
is that where he's from?
That's where I know him from. He was in
Right.
David Lynch's Lost Highway.
I gotcha. David Lynch. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so I think that's why I liked that they put that character in, because like you could, it was a glimpse into like the mind games that's going on there. It was
I agree.
way more interesting than whatever that clown guy was doing.
Yeah, like the clown guy was getting on my nerves, but I found him truly terrifying as a character.
Yeah.
The other guy, I was like, wow, this guy is actual evil.
All right, cool. I mean, but then there was Satan at the end, so none of this matters.
Right?
Because we got the ultimate evil there, so there we go.
So my big question in conclusion to all this is like, how did you guys come across this movie?
I don't know how this is
I
on
don't
television
know who
I've
played it to me as a
Okay,
kid.
I do vaguely remember seeing that they were showing it on like TBS or something.
This was on TBS.
I think so.
Oh my god.
I mean, I think it was late at night, but I vaguely remember seeing advertisements.
So I looked this up on Wikipedia. So it doesn't look like. Well, okay, so it has a box office budget, so therefore it was released in theater.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it said something along the lines that it was like HBO something.
Maybe.
Oh yeah,
it was on-
the film was released theatrically in 1995. Later that year, the film was released on VHS and Laserdisc by HBO.
Laser.
Laserdisc.
I'm just like,
And then they re-released it for Blu-ray. Well, I got a Blu-ray.
yeah.
Interesting.
So I guess maybe it showed on HBO. But did you guys have HBO?
And then they made a sequel of it in 2018.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. See, that's where I also watched a lot of weird films that I should not have been seeing.
Yeah, I watched like the remake of House on Haunted Hill. The one that's supposed was it House on Haunted Hill? It was around that same era, the late
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah.
They released the soundtrack.
Okay.
Nice.
Not
sorry.
that it was a bad
Nice.
soundtrack.
It wasn't a bad soundtrack. I'm just like,
It's just a weird.
it's just a funny
soundtrack.
soundtrack to go by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Tales from the Hood.
Yeah.
The soundtrack.
Yeah. So that's Tales from the Hood.
Yeah.
I liked. You know what? I liked watching it. I think I liked it. I
Yeah.
probably won't watch it again because
yeah.
I don't like scary
good.
things and it's a bit intense. But like, yeah, that's still. I'm glad I watched it. So now that fear is gone. All of that memory is gone. I know what the movie was actually about. Yeah, pretty cool.
That's what these sessions are about.
Yes,
I have
yeah.
a question looking
Child
back
therapy.
on the movie.
Childhood
And thank you
therapy.
for bringing me into that. I've never seen it, never heard of it. It is now a part of my vocabulary.
Share this.
Thank you.
Oh. So I have a question looking back on all these stories from the film. Like each one seemed to encapsulate a small moral with like, you know, the bad cops being punished, and then like this overtly racist guy being punished by the puppets, and then this one guy, don't want to say punished. I mean, there's consequences to his actions of killing
other
black people, like get a punishment. What was the moral of the story with the child?
Yeah.
What was the moral that I was supposed to learn from that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know
it
if.
just
It's
was
not
there
clear.
a moral in that one?
You're
or was
right,
it just a
yeah.
strange story about
Well,
a kid
and that's why I
being
had that
abused by his
whole
dad?
question of like he made that statement of like what's real in the mind of Walter, but I'm like, what was real in the mind of Walter?
And each of these, and the moral in each story always seems to tie back to race. And I'm like, did the story of the child tie into race somehow?
Tie into race.
That's what I've been like running over my mind. I'm like, does this?
I mean, other than the fact that they were all black,
But I'm not sure what the moral
Yeah.
was. I don't
Honestly,
know
I
if
have
that's
no
just me.
idea. You're right.
I don't have the right perspective or something. I'm not
Maybe.
sure. I'm not getting the moral. It was an interesting little story, but
Yeah, it's like, again, to me it feels like they had this idea
maybe they
with
had
the
to
paper.
break up. Yeah.
And I don't think that they followed through with it. I think that they had the idea and they're like, oh, we're going to include it, but they didn't think that, what does this
Think all
mean?
the way
Because you
through.
set up the fact that he was viewing things differently, like he was imagining it differently than the way it was happening. But then didn't follow through with that concept.
I was wondering, I've been milling it over in my brain, if this was tying into, if there was something that's supposed to be about like single mothers who get into bad relationships, because they made it clear earlier on, he said, my father's dead.
Yeah.
So David Alan Grier was not his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, was the point of this supposed to be like when children are being abused and victimized, like listen to them? Like
Yeah.
they're not lying.
Maybe.
You know,
Wait.
take
Take
some
it
action. Take it
seriously.
seriously when there's abuse from somebody entering a bad relationship.
Wait, I got an
Question
idea.
mark.
I got an idea. What is the moral of Saw, right?
Saw. It's been a minute.
The whole moral of Saw.
Yeah.
The whole moral of Saw was that this guy, he almost lost his life. Like he was basically given a second chance, and he took it upon himself to show other people like, how much do you want to live? And so he puts them in these situations where they basically have to hurt themselves horribly in order to survive.
So the
Because
moral,
because he chooses people that are ungrateful with their lives specifically. Like he goes after people that
Okay.
are not living at the fullest, like alcoholics and people who are like, blah blah blah, and he puts them in situations like, hey, I'm going to give you a chance, like you need to break out of this if you want to live. Do you really want to live? Well, then cut your eye open and get the key out, like that
that's
kind of
great.
stuff.
The
So
moral
there was
is-
a moral, even though it's a fucked up moral.
right?
I mean,
Okay.
So
it's
for
not
me-
a fucked up moral to be like, be grateful what you have.
Right.
Like,
It's not, but
it could be worse.
right. But to make them do that,
But yeah, that
It's
is
a little
messed
fucked
up.
up.
And I won't say that like every single film always has a moral to learn,
Yeah.
but like just specifically for Tales from the Hood, like it seemed like there was always a moral to each
Yeah.
story.
Yeah,
they were
each
trying to
story
tell.
had a moral, but like
I guess the
I guess
closest
the
is don't
child-
marry
yeah.
a mean person. Don't stay with a mean person, or don't help
Well,
your kid.
no, I think it is the one with the children. If children are showing those signs of abuse,
Listen to them.
listen
Don't
to
let it
them.
continue.
And especially if they're trying to come to you and talk to you about it, like, don't just push it away as like, oh, it's normal to be like this, and it's like, it's not normal.
Yeah.
to be.
See, the way that if I was writing that story, if I had to rewrite it, I wouldn't have it to where he just tells the teacher, "Hey, this girl showed me that if I do this," I would have had it to where the teacher gives him that advice, and so later on when it comes full circle, it's like, oh well.
At the end, whenever he's involved in the fight.
The teacher was a part of his help group or like his support system.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Like it would have made more sense, but
I think that would have been a solid rewrite. Instead of some random girl behind. Yeah, why did they just throw it to someone we didn't even get to see? Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
to me, from somebody who's studied film, to me it just looks like they went through a lot of different ideas, like versions of the same idea, and they just decided to keep all of it.
Well, I
and
just
didn't
feel like maybe
edit it very well.
Yeah, things got rewritten, and then they didn't revisit. Hey, what was it we were trying to actually
Yeah, what was
say
the
with
point?
this?
That one got a bit murky.
This was more of like, hey, what kind of fun can we do with special effects?
Let's crush David Allen Greer.
Yeah. It's like, he's already been crushed enough. It's okay.
Wait, are you saying David Allen Greer has been crushed before? This is not his first crush role?
Oh no, it's just like career-wise.
Now, if you want to watch,
Don't
if
say
you want to watch
that.
a
What's wrong
version
with
of this
you?
movie,
No.
if you want to watch a version of this movie that is actually really, really good, I mean,
Whoa.
not to say that this was bad.
Whoa!
No.
We don't
Let me
make fun of
rewind.
movies here.
Rewind.
How dare you?
No, rewind. Not. I wasn't saying this was bad. I'm saying that something that's really well done, as opposed to this one had ups and downs.
Just go past this.
Yeah, Black Museum. The episode Black Museum
Oh.
from Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It had the same kind of anthology, but the point was
Yeah.
I need to watch this.
It's
Oh, you haven't watched it?
I haven't seen that.
it's terrifying.
but
Kevin,
it
it will make
is
you-
like this movie.
Or rather, yeah, it is basically
way
this
better.
movie.
It is basically this movie,
basically
but shorter.
It's not way better. It's
Which-
different. Like this
it's-
movie is
okay,
serving
it's
a slightly different audience than that movie. That shows different.
Yeah, true.
Both in time wise,
Well, and
kind of-
it also doesn't help
Right.
that it's a
So to clarify, when I say better,
It's a
I
British
meant
white
I was
guy.
talking more on the quality.
Like filmmaking.
Filmmaking.
Yeah,
I'm not talking
filmmaking
about
quality.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm just talking filmmaking quality.
A more contemporary. There, contemporary.
Okay, that word.
Fair.
Okay.
All right,
have to
good.
watch it.
We carefully skirted around calling Tales from the Hood crappy. And,
I did not say
to where we need to go.
I liked it.
Dang, dude.
I
I
like
did not say that.
I
Upon
mean,
review,
it
I
had-
liked it too.
Yeah. I was really worried in starting this film, but it does have a lot of good, like, morals to teach.
Cool. Why were you scared?
It's also, I don't know.
Well, it
Just
has a
the
tone.
The pictures on IMDb do not do it justice
No.
because it just shows the weird ass graphics.
Fair
And
enough.
I was like, what am I about to watch?
It does have a tone shift that's a little jarring at first, but once you just kind of get over that and let it just go for the ride,
Yeah.
it's better
Yeah.
because it goes from like being really campy, silly with the
Yeah.
main guy
Yeah, with Mr.
to like
Sims.
the scene, the fourth episode where it's like showing you the lynching, like
Yeah.
it gets really serious.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
definitely.
that's a little
Yeah.
tonally jarring,
Yeah.
but besides that, it's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's it. Tales from the Hood.
Yeah.
Swipe
Tales
it,
from
like
the Hood.
cross that off of the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which we have a spreadsheet.
We're
Because I'm
organized.
a project manager, and that's what I do. So yeah, we've figured out like, hey, if you're looking for a campy, scary movie with a good message, watch Tales from the Hood. It's on YouTube.
It's very relevant
It's very relevant.
Very relevant. It's
And-
25
to what's going
years
on
later.
right now.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining our podcast. Please like, subscribe, and follow our podcast. We are on all of our platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And we are now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.